Good evening. Welcome to the Town of Mamaroneck Zoning Board of Appeals. This is sort of a new venue for us presenting a meeting. So I'd first like to introduce Lisa Hockman, our town attorney, and she's going to have some opening remarks for us.
Thank you, Arthur. Tonight's meeting is being held remotely in accordance with Governor Cuomo's Executive Order 202.1, which has been extended. This allows for suspension of certain provisions of the Open Meetings Law to facilitate public meetings of municipal boards, in this case via video conferencing. In addition, certain public hearings will be held tonight. These are being held pursuant to Executive Order 202.15 as extended, and the temporary instructions for how members of the public can participate in these public hearings has been noticed on the website, and as well as to all people required to get notice in accordance with the notice provisions of the town code. Francine, for the record, can you please state where the notice for this meeting has been published and posted?
It has been published in the newspaper, and it has been posted on our website, and everyone received mailing, and I have proof of mailing for all applications.
Thank you, Francine. In addition, members of the public have the ability to view this meeting live on LMC TV, channel 76 on Optimum, channel 35 on Verizon, or they can stream it online at lmctv.org. Written transcript will be available at a later date. At this time, Francine, I'd like you to please call the roll so that we can establish we have a quorum. And members of the zoning board, when Francine calls your name, would you please take yourselves off mute so you can answer verbally?
Arthur Wexler.
Yes.
Jonathan Sachs.
Yes.
Irene O'Neill.
Yes.
Robin Nichinsky.
Yes. Yes.
Carol Miller.
Yes.
Is Seth Brohan there? No?
Well, he was.
Seth?
Well, it looks like he vacated. I can see his kitchen.
I can't see him, so I can't mark him as yes yet.
Okay, well, we do have a quorum, and we will indicate when Seth comes on. Francine, who, if any, are serving as an alternate tonight? So who are the voting members tonight?
The voting members are Arthur, Jonathan, Irene, and Robin. Both Carol and Seth are alternates.
All right, well, since Steve Marsh is not here, for the record, either Carol or Seth will be taking Steve Marsh's place as an alternate.
I gather Carol because she's answered.
Up, and here's Seth.
You heard
Seth,
Seth.
Sorry.
Okay, so the record can reflect that both alternates are here, and we just need to figure out, and maybe Richie, you know who came on first, which alternate will be voting.
Carol.
I'm sorry?
It was Carol first.
Okay.
No, I'm sorry. No, I'm sorry. It was Seth first.
Okay, so Seth, you'll be voting tonight, and Carol, you're serving as an alternate, not voting tonight, but you'll be informing yourself in case you have to vote on any matter at a future meeting. Okay, Mr. Chairman, I turn it back to you.
Francine, can you call the first case?
Application number 1, case number 317.
Arthur, I think you might be muted.
I don't think so. Can you hear me?
I can hear you, Arthur. Lisa, you having a audio problem?
I can't hear Lisa now. Hold on a minute.
Francine is muted.
Yeah, Lisa.
I now have audio, thank you.
Okay.
Okay, but Francine has been muted this whole time. And she's still talking.
Everyone, can you hear me now?
We can hear you now.
Yes.
Okay. Application
You
number
can't
1,
hear Francine.
case number 3173, 2155 Palmer Avenue, Westchester Automobile Company, Acura, public hearing. Application of Westchester Automobile Company, Acura, requesting a variance to legalize existing signs for Acura dealership on the premises located at 2155 Palmer Avenue and known on the tax assessment map as Block 501, Lot 1.
Oh, should I open the public hearing at this point? I can't hear you, Lisa.
Francine, can you confirm for the record that this application was properly noticed?
Unmute. The application was properly noticed.
Thank you.
Richard, so they're on tonight?
Jonathan is right on the screen.
Right there.
How are you?
Jonathan, is there anybody else that I need to promote for you, or is it?
No, we're good. I don't know if whether I should present or we just go straight to public hearing, or how should this,
Well, we just opened the public hearing for you.
do I present the project?
Your presentation, right? If you want to share your screen.
Sure, yeah, I will do that. Just one sec. I'm sorry, hold on bear with me.
I'm sorry if I just spaced out. Was there a motion to open the public
I
hearing?
did it. I did it
A
already.
second.
Oh, and a second?
That I don't know. Someone else to second it.
I need a
I
second.
will second it.
Thank you, Robin.
So can everybody see my screen?
Yes?
Okay.
I can at least.
Okay. So I'll give you a brief history of the project, just so you can understand where we're coming from. The Acura dealership owned by Westchester Automobile Company is presently going through planning for a special permit use. It's being renewed. It's a standard renewal of a special permit that has to occur every 2 years. Apparently Acura, we haven't renewed it for a while, unbeknownst to the owners as well as the representation. But as now, we're right now in the planning stage where the site plan has been approved as drawn. But we have to finish out the planning board process by acquiring variances for the existing signs along Palmer Avenue, as well as the sign that's on Harrison and Palmer. So it's an enter and exit sign that comes off of Palmer Avenue, as well as the big Acura sign that's a standalone sign on the corner of Harrison and Palmer. I'll bring up the signs in one sec. We presently went to we got approved from a coastal on, I believe it was Monday. And I believe that the planning board is requiring us just to tie all of our loose ends up with this variance as far as signs, and then go back to planning for a public hearing and planning. So let me pull up the signs. So these are the three signs. We did present in front of the ARB, and there was there was a request to remove the parts and service sign under the enter sign, the parts and
Excuse me,
service.
all I see on the screen is the site plan at this point.
Oh, I'm sorry. Let me share this one. Sorry. Stop share. I'm going to reshare 1 second. Sorry about that. Did everybody see that now?
Yes,
There you go. So these are the three signs that we're requiring variances for. The exit sign and enter sign along Palmer. The ARB did request that we remove, which we will after tonight's meeting, depending on the resolution, the parts and service entrance next exit, make left. We're going to remove that sign under the enter sign.
okay.
And there was some mention about the illumination of the big sign that's on the corner of Palmer and Harrison. So they just wanted to pass that along to you. Those are the two comments, whether or not, obviously this one's a no-brainer as far as removing that temporary looking sign that's underneath the enter sign. We can remove that, no problem. So I really think the ARB's only question was the illumination of the Acura sign on the corner of Palmer and Harrison.
And what was their comments?
Well, one member had just wanted the zoning board to look at the hours of operation and how long it's illuminated for. None of the other members had an issue with the illumination. So it was just one comment and they told me that they were going to pass it along to you. So I figured I'd mention it.
And what was your response for the hours of operation for the sign?
Well, they only use the sign during the winter months, obviously as illumination from the hours of, they're only open till 9 o'clock. So basically when the sun goes down during the winter, 4:30 to 9, 8:30, 9 o'clock is when the illumination occurs. They don't use it during the summer months. They don't even like to acquire the bills from as far as the illumination is concerned on it. So it's really only through those winter months where the sun sets early.
Arthur, so you know the
understand-
Acura,
Oh, I'm
Acura
sorry.
sign, what the big tall one was the one that does have a permit. So it's the ones that one is zoning compliant, has a permit. It's just the lighting on it.
Okay. So this one on the corner of Harrison and Palmer, you're saying, Richard?
Except for the parts and service sign, but the actual freestanding, yeah, that one.
Okay.
So you're not asking to do anything different. You're just asking to renew what you have already had, which you needed a variance for in the first place.
Correct. Which these signs were put up over 30 years ago or 30 years ago or so. So they're just at this point, as we're renewing the special permit, part of that special permit request was to get a proper variance for these signs.
And that, as a variance for the sign, I don't see it, or as part of the special permit.
Well, I think before they can issue a special permit, everything has to be in compliance, even with the zoning variance. So if I acquire a zoning variance for these signs, then everything's in compliance before they can issue a final special permit.
Or didn't you had a special permit prior to this point? And were these signs in that special permit, or there anything new here that was not in the special permit?
Well, presently they didn't acquire a special permit, as I previously said, over the last 30 years. So I think previously special permit that was existing didn't have these signs on it, I would imagine. So the site plan that's recorded in the town. So these are new items that are being addressed as part of a new special permit to be issued.
Oh, so they are new items. They're not.
Yeah, but if they were put up without a building permit or in any fashion, I'm just trying to understand how they've been up there for all these years, and now you're just renewing what was there and why you need a variance when in the past you didn't need a variance.
Yeah, these are the questions that occurred during the planning board process, and nobody seems to have an answer on why there was never a special permit renewed over the last 30 years. I obviously wasn't representing Acura, so I don't know why it wasn't renewed. So if this permit was renewed every 2 years, this would have been addressed a long time ago.
Right, so
Mr. Chairman, can I just ask a question? And Lisa, you might have to chime in. The notice of disapproval is requesting a legalization. I just think we need to clarify what we are doing here. Are we just dealing with this as a special use permit application of which we are looking to issue a variance for size, illumination, and then this issue of the loading dock? Because I'm not sure which is a special use, whether there's a legalization involved here. I'm 100% sure what we're doing.
My understanding, and Richie, please chime in, is that this has nothing to do with the special use permit other than the fact that they're trying to get a special use permit from the planning board, that this is a separate matter to legalize their signs pursuant to the sign code, and that the planning board wants this to be resolved before they issue any approval. The planning board is reviewing both a special use permit as well as a site plan amendment.
So what was the order of these signs were put in? I can't believe that this big Acura sign was put in without
The large Acura sign was put in with a permit. It had a zoning variance April 4th, 2002. I believe it was approved by the zoning board on April 4th, 2002. The ARB May 17th, 2002, and a building permit at the same time.
So the big Acura sign, which is illuminated during the winter for those hours, is already been approved, does not need a variance. Is that correct?
Correct. The large sign does not need a variance. That's already got one. It got it back in 2002.
Now, the other two
So
signs
what we're
then,
looking at is the exit, the enter, and the parts and service sign. Those three signs are what's in need of a variance. Now, the Acura sign was not lit as part of that original permit.
and it hasn't been lit since. It's being illuminated now?
When it illuminated, it wasn't permitted with illumination.
Ah,
Okay.
okay.
But just let me correct you, just so that you know, and I'll clarify this. I believe that the parts and service sign has illumination behind it. The Acura symbol, the Acura symbol does not, and I believe just the Acura lettering does.
And that's being illuminated by internally
Yeah, it's internal illumination.
as opposed to a spotlight or something on the ground illuminating it up.
Yeah. Which can be an alternative.
So parts and services is illuminated, but not enter and exit.
These enter and exit signs are also illuminated from the backlit, but they didn't have a problem with that, with those two.
So they were just questioning the illumination of the large Acura sign?
That's the only one they had
And did they give alternatives of what they, what?
like I mentioned earlier, the only one member had any sort of mention of it. Landscape lighting is one alternative, I imagine. But it wasn't really, it was just a mention at the end of the ARB meeting.
But basically Acura put the enter, exit, parts and service in without requesting permission. The only thing they had permission for was the variance for was the Acura sign, not illuminated at all. So
I believe that's the case. I don't,
somewhere in the last 30 years, they put all that in without asking for any permission.
I believe that's the case. I mean,
Once again, I'm just trying to be clear because it still reads that we are looking for a variance for 4 interior illuminated signs. I understand the Acura sign was permitted, installed, and there was a variance for it, but it was not to have been illuminated. So we're asking for a variance for the illumination of the Acura sign, correct?
Correct, but not the size or anything, just the
Right.
illumination.
Just the illumination,
The other ones, the other 3, we're looking at size.
right? Because they're greater than the 3 square feet. And so this is accurate that each of these were measured. We're only looking at the sign portion. It looks a lot larger than 4.5 square feet. Just to be clear on what the variance is that we're asking for.
believe it.
So
18 by 18 inches, so a foot and a half by 5. So 12.5 square feet.
What are the signs made out of now?
Aluminum.
And intention of aluminum, and there's a translucent panel where the
Yeah.
word exit is on,
Yes.
where the lights would be installed, or they installed already?
They're installed already in behind these signs. And so obviously just take into account, they're also the enter and exit sign are also a safety measure off of Palmer Avenue.
Excuse me?
The enter and exit sign are also a safety measure off of Palmer Avenue with cars exiting the dealership onto Palmer Avenue. Because obviously it's a double yellow line, so they want to
Right.
prior to getting to that exit or enter.
And what is the street lighting in front of the signs that are present?
Well,
Is there any?
I think there might be 2 posts along Palmer Avenue, or maybe 3. I don't know, Richard, do you know? I didn't count them.
I do not know how many lights are on the road.
I would think, and I'm not an authority on this, that landscape lighting up towards the sign Acura would be a much softer presentation to the community. That's my feeling, than being, internally illuminated. Or anyone else can chime in, please.
Richie, over the years, do you know if we've had any complaints about these signs? I know that there was at least a submission for this meeting from a community member saying that they objected to the sign.
There are 2 people that I think want to speak about the sign, or at least 2 people that objected. I have not received any formal complaints, like as a zoning complaint.
Right.
This mostly came up from the site plan renewal, or the special use permit renewal.
Okay. I mean, in my mind, other than they're very dated, they're very kind of 60s looking, and that they don't really fit in with anything in the character of our neighborhoods. They're not terribly obtrusive, and they do serve a very specific purpose. clearly marking the enter and exit. I would also note, just for all of the board, when I did my drive-by here, where they say the temporary sign had been removed, it was still in place. I don't know if it was subsequently removed.
Oh, no, I said it would be, I'm sorry, if I misstated, I said it would be removed. I was at the determination of this meeting, it's.
Okay, only because your presentation, it said temporary sign has already been removed.
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry. Okay.
That's what I saw when I went by looking for this, and it had not been.
I get that down right away.
The big Acura sign, which is the, says that this is for Acura, is it just the square that's illuminated, or what about the pylon, the big shape?
No, the pylon's not illuminated. It's just the letters on the Acura sign.
So it's a black background with the circle and the inverted V and Acura that gets lit up. Is that correct? Right. Nothing else.
And really, I'm not aware of their daily operation as far as that light's concerned. I want to say that they kind of generally use landscape lighting in general there too. So I don't know how often they really illuminate that light. I'd have to check because they do have landscape lighting as well.
That's directed towards the sign, or is it just for the?
Directed towards the signs.
And what do you need both?
No, we don't necessarily do. The parts and service sign is I think more important for traffic flow. But we can illuminate that large sign with landscape lighting.
I think the impact on the community is the main Acura sign, from what I'm seeing here.
Why are you coming for our permission now when permission wasn't requested for the last 30 years? Is there some reason why it's happening now?
Because we're going for the special permit and the special permit, and the condition of that was to get a variance for the signs.
And why are you seeking the special permit?
It's necessary. It's part of the local zoning ordinance because of the zone that the building is in. It's under special permit. It has to be renewed every 2 years.
Well, the special permit use is for, it's something along the lines of the principal use is for an auto dealership, and then the special use permit is for the repair aspect. But in this case, I think it was issued many, many years ago under a different zoning code. So it was carried forward more pursuant to the agreement, I think back from the 80s, if I'm recollecting correctly. But then, as was indicated earlier, it lapsed without being renewed. In addition to renewing this special permit, the planning board, in fact, may treat it as a new special use permit given the lapse of time. I can't remember, but there's also, I believe, a site plan amendment that the applicant is required to address certain issues of the site plan that where the applicant is not in compliance.
Yeah, correct me if I'm wrong. I guess part of that issuance of the special permit requires a new site plan to be accurately drawn up and approved. So that part of that is a zoning analysis on the site plan.
Right. It's kind of a chicken and egg situation, but the two actions before the planning board relate to the special use involving the auto repair services and the site plan itself.
But the property has to be zoning compliant in order for a special use permit to be issued. So if the signs aren't zoning compliant and don't have a zoning variance, then the planning board can't go ahead and look at really approve the rest of it. So that's why it's in front of us, is for the signs. That's the only non-zoning compliant part of it at the moment.
What about the balance, Richard, what they're saying, which is, and off-street loading is not permitted pursuant to 240-82C, and further, they increase to the extent by which the property is non-conforming. That's why I asked in the beginning, I'm still trying to clarify what is being asked of this board today. Are we looking at 4 separate variances here that are required?
Jonathan,
Yes.
Presenter Jonathan, you'd have to let us know if you're still looking for that. My understanding was that you were not doing any loading of vehicles off on the property anymore.
No, it's the loading and unloading of vehicles is not occurring on the property anymore. It is presently, some instances occurring on the adjacent lot at their present gas station across the street, but also at remote locations where they're transporting the vehicles to the site. So they do not load and unload on property anymore.
So did we have a subsequent notice of disapproval after January 3rd when the request was to remove those items? Or do we not care and we're just going to talk to the signs and let planning take up if there's any other further issue?
I would think that if they're not asking for it anymore, you know, they're not asking for more, they're asking for less. Lisa, you can correct me, but they're not asking for the off-street parking anymore. So we wouldn't have had to renotice because they're asking for less information.
I'm just saying from our standpoint, I understand that I'm fine, absolutely fine with them asking for less. I guess I'm formally asking to be on the record that this board is only being asked to address the signs. We don't care about planning other than this is something that planning needs. And we're just doing our job for the signs.
That's correct. So planning will continue with their review. And it's really the burden of the applicant to ensure that whatever gets approved by planning is also zoning compliant. To the extent it is not, then they would need to return to this board.
Okay, then the only question I would have for the applicant is, are you aware of any time that anyone has come to you with complaints about the sign, and or have you ever looked at any alternatives that might have softened this a little bit to fit a little bit more in with the character of the Larchmont Mamaroneck strip there?
Well, you know, obviously representing the applicant, they've had these signs for a long time, and their intention not to change them, except for obviously that temporary sign that's underneath the enter sign. So, I mean, the only thing that obviously is a fine is illuminating the big accurate sign with landscape lighting instead of internally illuminating it. Other than that, they weren't looking to change signs. Obviously they've been there for a long time, and they would just replace it with an enter and exit sign big enough just to direct traffic. So I don't know if making them any smaller is going to help the situation.
I'm not sure it's about the size, as it's the overall aesthetic. You know,
Oh.
that they have been there for 30 years, and things do change and character changes. And you know, it being a good neighbor, perhaps they were willing to look at that. Look, the times have changed, and maybe there is something that's softer and nicer or more.
Isn't this also up to the BAR to put their input into this sign?
They did. We already presented to them. Yeah.
And their response was?
As I stated earlier, the only two comments that they had were the illumination of the Acura sign, the one that was previously permitted, the large Acura sign, as well as removing that temporary parts and service entrance next street left. They wanted to remove that. Other than that, they didn't have any comments.
They wanted to remove that entirely.
Yeah, that sign below the enter sign. We're going to remove that entirely.
Or it says part service entrance next street, make left? Yes.
Yes.
Right, that's not a safety issue. You could say the.
No, that's just,
Francine, oh, sorry, Robin, go ahead.
No, I thought Jonathan was responding to my comment that parts and service is not a safety issue.
I think it's a promotion more than a safety issue. They have the parts and service. The only thing I can think of is that the parts and service sign that's below on corner of Harrison and Palmer, I believe, has parts and service on the other side of that sign as well. So you could see it. So there's not, that one isn't necessary to, you know, it's more of a promotion than a safety issue.
Mm-hmm.
Francine, do you know whether BAR issued any kind of letter or memo with respect to its review of this application?
I don't have anything right now. I can look.
Mr. Villani, are you aware of anything that the BAR issued?
No, the only thing I'm aware of is that when I did present in front of the ARB, they did tell me that they were going to draft a letter with the recommendation of those two things that I've already mentioned that we spoke about.
All right, well, the board members will need to see that.
I haven't received that either.
Are there any other questions from the board on this matter?
No, I'd like to hear from the public. I would just add the comment, though, anything that we do should reference the ARB findings, that nothing should be
Oh,
inconsistent.
boy, I don't want to open up to the public at this point.
I have two people that are would like to talk. I'm gonna bring Brian up first. Brian, you should be able to speak.
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes,
Yeah.
I can hear you.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for this detailed presentation. I live near the Acura dealership. I personally, myself, don't necessarily have an issue with the signage. Although I do agree with removing that temporary parts and service sign. Again, I'm only speaking for myself. I'm more concerned about the larger plans. There have been things that have been out of code for a long time with Acura. There were things with unloading, cars on Palmer Avenue, which thankfully seems to have been better. Employees parking on residential streets instead of at the business, and parking of cars with their noses out on the Harrison extension next to that sign. So there have been other issues. So I'm a little more concerned really what the special use permit for and the site plan, and the loading dock. There were plans to build a multi-level garage in the past. That's the kind of stuff I'm interested in, whether a sign is lit or not, or 18 inches or 12 inches. Me personally, I'm not that concerned with it. And obviously, if all they're asking for here of this board is the signage, I don't have any. It's up to you guys. I have no problem with what they're asking for in terms of they're not enlarging anything, they're not adding anything at this point. That's my piece. So thanks for hearing me out.
Thank you, Brian. Now I'm going to allow Josh. Sorry, Josh.
Hi there. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Hi. Thanks for taking the time. I appreciate it. I also live near the Acura dealership. I guess the primary consideration I have is, the credibility here, and I'm not sure exactly why we'd be in a position to approve new applications when the sort of existing terms are not being adhered to. I guess number one, as we mentioned, the safety issue of unloading onto Palmer in the middle of the day. That's still happening. Friday the 19th at around 2:10 p.m. There was someone unloading right in front of the service entrance, right in front of the Chico's, so it blocked 2 lanes of traffic, creating a difficult situation where people were going into oncoming traffic to get around it. And then I guess the second thing is that they're not abiding by the agreement to not park on streets. So we have people driving fast around the neighborhood, parking in front of driveways, that sort of thing. The existing agreements have just not been addressed. And I think, it's not necessarily about the signs, but it's just a credibility issue. And I'm not sure that we should be moving forward with any favors when the existing agreements are not being honored. Thank you.
Josh, are you the same person who wrote the letter?
I am not, no.
No. Okay.
Well, I have a question on the notice of disapproval. Are you asking, is Acura asking for off-street loading, even though it's not, and it says, and the disapproval that is not permitted?
No, we are not. We are presently not loading in front of, loading and unloading in front of Palmer Avenue in front of the dealership.
Well, off-street does that mean all street, Richard, all streets, or just Palmer Avenue in this case?
That's a question I was asking, Arthur, that we're not here to list for any of this. They've withdrawn those requests for variances. The only variance again, is that we're dealing with the sign issue and illumination. All the rest we're not asking for.
It's my understanding, and Jonathan can, not Sachs, Jonathan Alvino can maybe elaborate, but that they've gone to Larchmont to use a different property and possibly to another property, I think in New Rochelle or something, where they're going to be moving cars back and forth. So they've removed that from this request. But again, Jonathan can elaborate on that.
Me, Jonathan, me, right?
Correct. Sorry.
So if I'm understanding correctly, then the notice of disapproval, where it says, forget about the signs for a minute, and off-street loading is not permitted pursuant to section 240-82C and further increased extent by which. So that wasn't a request, but you're saying now it's not a request.
It was not so basically we're suffering from the fact that all these things were filed previously. And we were in discussions with Larchmont about loading and unloading on their property adjacent to the dealership, which is in the Larchmont jurisdiction. We presented drawings to Pat Clear, who's the planner for Larchmont. As far as those planning issues, they will come up and be addressed when we go to public hearing for planning. So all these will get cleared up on the site, and presently on my site plan that's being approved, it states, which is a legal document, states that there will be no loading or unloading on Palmer Avenue in front of the dealership. They are going to remote locations, and they are queuing and coming into the property on 2150, I believe it's 2151 or 2150 Palmer Avenue, their gas station across the street on Harrison Drive in Palmer. So that's where they're unloading and loading sometimes, and they're also unloading and loading in New Rochelle and then bringing the vehicles over to there. It's all been a long, ongoing process, and obviously those concerns from the speakers are valid, and we will be addressing those in the planning public hearing. Right now, we're just requesting to move to that planning board public hearing as approving these signs to move forward to get the other things ironed out and cleared up.
So the request now is for these three signs, or four signs, I should say. Exit, enter, parts and service, and the big Acura sign. Is that correct?
The big Acura sign is just illumination. The Acura sign has been approved. It's just illumination on that Acura sign.
Right, excuse me. So it's the exit, enter, and parts and service for those three signs, and then the illumination of all the signs, or just the Acura sign?
I mean, that's where we're open to discussion. I'm more than happy to go to Acura and state that the big, large sign has to be illuminated by landscape lighting, but the other three signs, just for safety reasons at nighttime, to be able to warn the drivers of coming to the enter and exit of the dealership and on the corner of Harrison and Palmer, so people don't have confusion on a double yellow line street.
So the sign itself is a white background from your black and white photos, and the letters are dark. So that means that the base of the sign, the rectangle, is lit.
No.
And the enter stays as a dark color against it, or how does that work?
It's eternally illuminated. So the back of the light of the text of the exit signs and the enter sign and the parts and service sign, the rear of them are lit up. So it comes through. It's a translucent film that takes light from the back.
And what is illuminated? Just the word enter?
Just the letter, just the word enter and exit and parts and service.
And
So-
not the box that they're
Not the
attached to?
box. No, it's not illuminated box, just the lettering.
I have a question on the large sign, the Acura sign. If you went to landscape lighting, wouldn't that tend to illuminate the pylon as well and make it even more obvious, as opposed to just the interior lighting of just the word Acura?
It depends how you light it. If you use LED lighting, directional lighting, you might be able to shoot above it. You know, it'd have to be thought about too. So if you do not want to light the whole pylon.
I've driven by there at night, and I'm not sure why we want to even talk about adding landscape lighting. It's going to make it more obtrusive. This is relatively subdued. It's out there hanging in the air, and you just see Acura, and it's been there for 30 years without complaint. And even we've had the two people who took the time to come in today that weren't concerned about that. I think people are more concerned about Acura being better neighbors than they are about the sign. I mean, we have a business that's operating here. We don't have a lot of them, but they do, they are represented in the town. And clearly, previously in 2002, when a variance was issued, we were okay with the sign and the obtrusiveness of this. I don't like that Acura went and backlit it, on their own, but I don't think we want to make this more obtrusive.
I agree with Jonathan. I think that certainly the exit and the enter sign should be illuminated for safety reasons. The Acura sign being illuminated, anything else might be worse than what's there right now. I think they don't seem to be good neighbors, as judged by the people who spoke in the letter that we got. And also the fact that they, took so long, that they did this without asking for permission in the first place. So I would hope that Acura, which is a good business to have in our town, will work at being better neighbors. But in terms of the signage, my proposal would be to remove the parts and service sign because there's another one in the back and it's not necessary for safety. And there's really no need for that to be there. So if we're going to think of doing anything, I would get rid of that parts and service sign and leave the rest.
But as he stated, they're taking it down, and it states it on the drawing, that's temporary sign. That's
Robin, are you talking about the one
No.
with the accuracy?
I'm talking about the temporary sign.
oh, the
is-
one that's on the
Yeah.
the one that's next to the large Acura sign.
Yes, the parts and service under the large Acura sign. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe that there's another parts and service sign on the back or the side entrance to the dealership as well, that there are two, but one of them is in the front.
I just, I used to own an Acura and used to use that dealership, and it is difficult to find the entrance for the service area without a sign like that at the road. It's very, I think it becomes a safety factor because you can't see way back inside where the other service sign is. So I would argue that the illuminated parts and service sign, not the temporary one, really is necessary at the road.
I don't believe there is one down on Harrison either. I'm not sure.
I don't think so either, Richard. I think that's the only parts and service sign that's on the corner of Palmer and Harrison.
If it is, it'll be non-conforming, and I'm sure that the building inspector will have it removed.
I was gonna say,
Can you raise the images a little bit on the screen?
Raise them in what, like,
So I can see the bottom with the Acura sign, see the whole picture. Or reduce the scale, that's it. Are all three of those signs, the exit, enter, and parts and service, all the same size?
yes.
I'm okay with drawing that request. I actually see where it can be a safety feature. If you are kind of looking around and don't know where parts and services are. And because none of the people who complained actually complained about the signage, they really just complained about Acura not being a good neighbor.
Gonna work on that. We're gonna work on that.
Okay.
Can we close this public hearing at this point, you think?
Moved.
One second, let me just check emails. I didn't see any before, but I just want to double check, make sure nobody sent the email in.
And Francine, can we state for the record, the first person who spoke, I know his name was Brian. What's his last name?
It just said B, I don't know.
Oh, is Brian still on the line?
No, I have, it's Brian Balfex, Blafeux.
Guess we should have everyone introduce themselves like we do in the normal meetings.
Probably a good idea. I have no new emails for this, for anything at the moment. So we're clear there. Does anybody, attendees, want to raise their hand that would like to speak?
Excuse me, can you repeat that again?
Would any of the attendees want to raise their hand if they would like to speak? It looks like everybody's good.
Again, should I make a motion to close the public hearing at this point?
Well, Arthur, what I would say is if you're prepared to make a motion, I think you should first solicit the views of your fellow board members. And if there is anything less than unanimity on this, I would suggest maybe you can ask me to condense the opinions of the board members, try to reduce something to writing that can be considered to facilitate discussion for action at the next meeting, unless you all feel confident that you can reach a decision tonight to take action on.
Fine. So I should poll the board on this case, in essence. Is that
Right.
correct?
Yes, it would be a non-binding poll. It would serve a purpose to indicate which way the board members are leaning. And if you would like me to prepare a draft resolution, you can give me some input as to what concepts you would want to see reflected. And that could be circulated in advance of the next meeting to see whether or not there would be consensus to vote on that resolution.
Okay. As board members, can you state your preference as to how you feel in this case? I can say I would approve it.
And with any conditions as well, like if you would approve it with conditions and you can indicate that, that would help me in drafting.
I can go ahead. I would be inclined to improve the application as submitted, but I would like to clarify what I believe in as submitted, that there are two variances that we are looking at this point. One is for size of sign, that these exceed the 3 square feet that is allowed. And secondly, that it is for the back illumination. And I would be inclined on both of those variances to vote in the affirmative.
I would support the variance request. Again, the signs have been in place for many years without complaint. I think they're, for safety reasons, do need to be there, obviously excluding that one temporary sign. And I think they're, well, style's a bit dated. They are not as intrusive as they could be.
Any other voting members?
I agree. The three of you.
I agree with Jonathan Sachs' statement.
Okay, so nobody is proposing any conditions, but you do want clarification that the variances being sought are for size and illumination. I assume you want to make sure that the plan accurately reflects exactly what it is, what the signs, how they will be illuminated. And I also believe we should get something in writing from the BAR to reflect what their views were after they reviewed this.
Yeah, I would agree that everything would be conditioned on not being in conflict with anything that the ARB has set forward. I mean, we gave our opinion on what we think about the signs, but I think that's the ARB's purview. And perhaps maybe that our comments could be noted to the ARB.
All right, Mr. Villani, I guess let's, if you can do your part to follow up. You said they indicated they would be putting something in writing. Rich, if there's anything we can do in our end, I don't know how there is typically coordination with the BAR. Is that
We can request a letter from the chairman.
okay? All right, so I will prepare for the next meeting a draft approval resolution contingent upon having a letter of no conflict with the BAR. I'll circulate it, and as board members, you can let me know whether you want to leave this public hearing open and vote on this at the next meeting, or whether you want to take action tonight.
I would think that we should adjourn it to the next meeting.
Agreed. I'd like to see the wording of the resolution. So,
Okay, then the public hearing should remain open.
Yes.
Just a question. There's no necessary actions I have to take regarding the next meeting, right? It's just a review of the resolution?
Other than the size, to make sure that the size of the signs themselves meet the sign law.
They don't. I think that's one of they're larger. I'll have to go double check that, but I thought that was part of the request.
That's
Right. It's part of the variance.
part of the variance.
But I think Jonathan Sachs wanted me to double check the size of the sign against what's being asked for, though, correct?
correct, because the way this reads, I believe they're saying it's only 4.5 square feet as proposed, and we know that it's significantly larger than that. It's probably 12 square feet. And I'm not even sure how to do that measurement. It's a two-sided sign. Is it 20? Again, I'm not opposed to the sign as there. I'm just trying to make sure, Richie, we have the the right variance we issue, so you don't have a problem in the future.
Yeah, we don't want to stumble over this later on.
Right.
That's fine. I'll double check them.
Okay.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Jonathan.
Thank you.
Francine?
Okay, application number 2, case number 317566 Edgewood Avenue, Michael and Stephanie Hollander, public hearing. Application of Michael and Stephanie Hollander requesting a variance for an enclosed porch on the premises located at 66 Edgewood Avenue and known on the tax assessment map as block 119, lot 255.
Take a motion, open up the public hearing. Second.
Second,
Thank you.
Francine, can you please confirm for the record that this application was duly noticed?
This application was duly noticed, yes.
Thank you.
Fred, is there anybody else that needs to be promoted for showing?
I'm sorry, what?
I'm talking, Fred Grippa. Is there anybody else? that needs
Yeah,
to be-
I'm here for 66
You
Edgewood.
and Nick.
No, Fred Grippy from the architect's office.
Yep, I have Fred and then I have Nicholas, right?
Oh, yeah, there he is.
Contractor. And does the owner need to be promoted, or I didn't see her on here, or him?
We good?
I believe so. Lisa, are we good to start? Sorry, I wasn't paying attention to what Francine said.
Yes, she confirmed that this was duly noticed.
Okay, Mr. Grip, it's all you.
You have to press something that will get your drawings up on the screen.
Can you see them or no?
No, you got to share screen. It's on the bottom of your screen. There's a share screen button.
Okay, let me find it. Oh, I see it. Okay, thank you.
No, it's not. It's
Yeah.
not coming through.
Now,
Does Nick have it on his computer, or maybe he can share it?
I don't think he does. For some reason, it's not coming up.
What happens if I hit share screen? Will it do any good?
If you have it on yours, you can share your screen, Arthur. If you brought up his plan.
What do I have there?
Nothing.
Zoom meeting, Skype. What do I do here? I got a big thing in the middle of my screen.
Bring your cursor to the bottom of your screen. You'll get a pop-up. It should say share screen.
Well, I got I got us, screen, a whiteboard, an iPhone, an iPad, and a AOL desktop. What's Skype? I got a lot of stuff here. This came up.
Arthur, do you actually have the digital plans on your computer screen?
No, all I see, no, I don't see the.
Oh, so then you have nothing to share unless,
Okay, I'm gonna close it.
okay.
Okay,
If you had the digital plans, then we could share them from your computer, but
okay. Fred, you have on the bottom of your screen, do you see the word, the far, I guess, your far right-hand corner, leave? And then record, share screen?
You can try Alt.
I tried to share screen, but I push it and it just, it comes up to
Fred,
the next-
try Alt and S.
What do we do here? Does everybody have the application in front of them?
Yeah, but I don't know if we can.
I do.
Lisa, you're muted.
Do we want to move to the next application and give Mr. Grippy a
Yeah,
chance to
yeah.
on it?
Why don't you do that? I'll try to
Okay.
figure it out.
Adjourn for a few moments.
Yeah, let's move to the next.
Francine, you want to go to
Yeah, come on.
number 3?
Arthur? You want me to
No.
call application 3?
Excuse me?
You want me to call application 3 while he's trying
Yes.
to fix
Mhm.
Application number 3, case number 31765 Vine Road, Craig and Amy Rosick. Public hearing, application of Craig and Amy Rosick requesting a variance for air conditioning unit on the premises located at 5 Vine Road and known on a tax assessment map as block 111, lot 213.
Motion to open public hearing?
I would like to say that I do know these applicants, but that will not affect my determination.
So in other
Wait a
words,
second.
you're able to be neutral and objective with respect to this application.
Yes, I am.
Francine, can you confirm that this was duly noticed?
Yes, and I also need someone to second it.
Second.
Carol, thank you.
We should have Amy Rosuck on.
Looks like she's muted.
Good evening, everyone.
Hi, Craig Rosuck.
Yes, I'm Craig, the husband, so not Amy.
Does anybody else need to be promoted, or is it just you? You're gonna,
My attorney,
Uh-oh. You froze. Somebody froze.
A different kind of problem.
I think we're going to need applicants to be able to do test runs before they.
can you hear me?
Yes.
Now we go.
Okay, I was, my attorney is supposed to be on as well.
Well, she doesn't seem to be here.
Do you want to continue or would you like to adjourn until your attorney?
I'd like to continue.
what's the attorney's name?
Martha Sokol McCarty. I know she received an invitation to join, and I'm texting with her. She's sitting by her computer.
Is her name coming up as something else? Maybe can I ask her.
If her name's coming up.
She should be able to
Michael-
chat to you.
Michael McCarty? Is she saying Michael McCarty?
Got it.
Okay.
Yeah, there's a Michael McCarty as an attendee.
Here.
Okay.
There's Michael. Got on.
But you're
Okay.
not Martha.
No, it's just a
So,
photo.
so I apologize. Sometimes I end up with my son's picture, and I thought I had permanently taken care of that. But can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, so if I figure it out in the middle, maybe maybe you'll really see me. So, do I have leave to start here?
Yes, you do.
Okay, thank you.
You have to tell Francine your address and
Yeah,
all the
I
pertinent parts.
I absolutely will. So my name is Martha Sokol McCarty. I am an attorney licensed by the state of New York. I'm obviously not terrific with Zoom. I am representing Craig and Amy Russick. Craig, Craig is labeled as Amy and I'm labeled as Michael, so there you go. We are here petitioning for a variance. My clients are longtime residents of the town of Mamaroneck. They have lived here for 17 years. They bought this house and they have maintained this house. And unfortunately, when they bought it with the HVAC, which of course they have maintained all along. This is a corner lot. It is peculiarly located. If you look, it's not square, it's not rectangular, there is a radius. There really isn't a whole lot of places that you could move the HVAC to.
Well, you're correct. That's where you can't without getting a variance. I think.
Thank you, Mr. Wexler. Exactly. Pretty much anywhere else on this lot, you would require a variance. There's the 5-prong test created by New York State. I'm not going to go through that again. It's in my letter, but briefly, there's no undesirable change in the neighborhood. There's no adverse conditions being created. Can this be moved somewhere else? Again, yes, but not without a variance. It's a corner lot. We have 2 front yards and 2 side yards. It's not really self-created because this is the way they bought the house.
You know when they bought the house?
Excuse me?
What year the house was purchased?
Mr. Russick, what year did you buy the house?
2003.
Oh, too bad. Please continue.
Oh, sorry. I feel, strongly that if you were to balance the cost and benefits to the neighborhood, I think, it would come out that you can actually, oh, there I am. Still Michael, but at least you see my face. If you were to balance the costs and benefits, you would realize that I would respectfully ask that you could vote for the variance. Again, Mr. Russick is here. If you'd like to ask him any questions, if you'd like to ask me any further questions, I'm happy to talk to you about it. I don't know how many of you may have visited at the property. I know Mr. Polcari has. And I know that I submitted today, and I'm not sure if you got it. There were 2 letters submitted by neighbors who were the ones most directly affected. They have no objection. And we also submitted the original application was in March. So we submitted an updated picture, which shows very dense shrubbery. I believe Mr. and Mrs. Russick also planted a couple more shrubs to cover the HVAC, so it would not be noticeable by the neighbors.
Oh, excuse me, so that was my question on page 17 of your original materials, where it looks like they are visible from the front is not the case now. Is that what you're saying?
Correct, it's not. I don't know if you got that picture. If you
I believe it was emailed to
I
everybody.
can actually.
Yeah. Right, I think it was emailed.
Okay, I was gonna say, I can hold it up. You really can't see it at all right now.
Right.
It was also posted onto the town's website.
I had the opportunity to view the site and to take a look, and I can tell you that when I drove up, I couldn't see the air conditioning unit. I had to look around. I knew what the position was on the site plan, went and peeked behind the bushes, and it was running, and I didn't even hear it. So, from just several feet away, it's a very quiet unit that's there. Just for clarification purposes, though, is there any idea when it was installed? It looks probably not much before 2002 based on visually what I looked at, because I'm just questioning whether or not there's a possibility that there was a grandfathering situation here and it wouldn't require the variance.
We didn't find anything in the town records, Jonathan. We do look each time. We didn't find anything in the town records that would have avoided this.
Okay, I have no other question.
So
Any other questions from any members?
nope.
Make a motion. Can we open it up to the public? Is there anyone who wanted to comment on this case?
You may want to just note there were two letters which we did all see. That yes, you mentioned they were submitted, but yes, they were distributed and they were both in favor.
Thank you.
Again, anyone else want to comment? Make a motion then to close the public hearing.
Second.
Lisa, this one, I think it's rather,
I just need to note that there is no emails sent
Thank you.
for this
okay.
one, and I see nobody raising their hand to talk.
If I
Lisa?
could respectfully request perhaps that this could be voted on this evening, it would be,
I was just getting to that.
okay, thank you.
Lisa, I think this is more boilerplate in the sense of how we deal with some of these air conditioning condensers, and especially on this site where any location, I just looked at a site plan again, will require a variance. So it isn't like they can move it to a site, a portion of the site that might be not require variance, but I don't think in this case that that's not true.
Yes, the board is free to take action tonight if you all agree that you're ready to vote.
Okay, well, I move to approve the variance. And I could say why if you want me to.
Yes, please.
Yes, you'll have to go through, Robin, you know, each of the 5 findings.
Yes. One, is this an undesirable change to the character of the neighborhood? No. It's been in its current location for many years. It's well screened from the road. And as Jonathan Sachs mentioned, you can hardly hear it. And putting it someplace else would require a variance and create other difficulties. So it's probably the most desirable place it could be in. Can it be achieved by methods other than an area variance? No, because to put it somewhere else, you'd have to get a variance. Anyway, so you cannot achieve it through any other means. Is the variance substantial? The variance requested is not substantial. The front yard setback is requires 30 feet, and the HVAC unit is located at 18.5 feet, but it's well screened and not visible from the road. Question 4 or factor 4, adverse effects. Will it have an adverse effect on physical conditions? It will not have an adverse effect. As I said, it's been in place for many years. Neighbors have not complained. And in fact, we have received letters from neighbors saying that they approve of it and is not creating any detrimental environmental conditions in the neighborhood. Is this a self-created difficulty? This consideration is not a bar to granting the application. My understanding is that virtually everything is a self-created difficulty. Is that true, Arthur? In this situation, would it be?
No, because I think because they bought the house and it was there already. So they did not install that air conditioner.
I agree. So this is one of those rare circumstances where it is not a self-created difficulty because it was previously there.
I'm going to be difficult and disagree.
Okay. All right, well, it's Robin's motion, and Robin, may I suggest 2 additions to add at your discretion? With respect to the finding of substantiality, are you comfortable adding that because they're air conditioning units of a fairly small size, they add no bulk to the house? In addition to that, they're not visible and that they're quiet, that they don't add any bulk?
I'm happy to add that.
And then also for the whether there's an adverse impact to the neighborhood, Are you comfortable adding that it doesn't create any new impermeable surface or generate any more runoff or impact to light or air in the neighborhood?
Yes, I meant to say that. Thank you.
Thank you.
I think also you can add that since it is off the front yard setback, in the front setback, that it has the benefit of the right-of-way dimension to the neighbor across the street. That makes it probably the furthest point that it can have an effect on the neighbor.
I accept that amendment as well.
Anyway,
Anyone second the motion?
I thought Jonathan did.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah,
Thank
All
you.
in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Oh, do we have to do an individual roll call?
Thank you, Irene. Can you do individual roll call, Francine?
Yes. Arthur Wexler,
Yes.
Irene O'Neill,
Yes.
Robin Nichinsky,
Yes.
Jonathan Sachs,
Aye.
Beth Roman.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. I appreciate you meeting and having this on Zoom.
Huh. Well, good night.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you, everyone.
Application number 4, case number 3178, 124 Garden Road. Todd and Laura Hoffman, public hearing. Application of Todd and Laura Hoffman requesting a variance for a deck on the premises located at 124 Garden Road East and known on the tax assessment map as block 214, lot 280.
Make a motion to open the public hearing.
Second.
Francine, can you confirm for the record that it was duly noticed?
Yes, this was duly noticed.
Thank you.
Hey, Paige, you got a new name.
I know. I see as Gregory Lewis, but it's that lovely Zoom feature. So good evening. Thank you all for hearing the Hoffman's variance request for a deck, and I see Todd and Laura here as well. Good evening, guys. So we're here this evening for Todd and Laura Hoffman. They live at 124 East Garden, which is at the corner of East Garden and East Brookside. So they have the fortunate circumstance of having a corner lot. So therefore we get 2 front yard setbacks. So we have a front yard setback along East Brookside and a front yard setback along East Garden. And Todd and Laura came to me and they wanted to do, they have a very small deck off of their kitchen dining room sliding glass door that leads down to a on-grade stone patio. And they wanted to provide a larger deck area so they could, come off the sliding glass door and have a deck area and then come down to the stone patio. So we are requesting a front yard variance setback so we could build our deck towards the East Garden side. And I can share my screen. Let's pull up. Can you guys see the screen?
Yeah. Yes.
Yes. Oh, good. I was worried because the other one made me panic that I don't see anything. So here's the cover sheet, and we're showing the requested front yard variance on the cover sheet. I'm going to go ahead and go to the site plan just to show you. I went ahead, I put some color on to help illustrate where we are. So on the left of the screen is the existing site plan, and on the right is the proposed. So you see their current existing wood deck, the steps down to a small wood deck, and then steps down to their stone patio. And really what we're doing is then it's really coming along the side of the house with the wood deck and aligning it with the front of the house, and then having the steps lead down to the stone patio. And because of their location, I'm going to zoom in a little bit here. And so the current house is approximately 16.5 feet from the east garden front yard, and we're proposing a 16.9 to the edge of the deck. So it kind of steps in a little bit, but here's the front yard setback back this way. So just about anything beyond the sliding glass doors is into the setback. So that's the site plan. And then in terms of the floor plan, then here you'll see how we come off the sliding glass doors onto the deck. We'll have the steps down to the patio. And then our elevation. So this is what the present front elevation looks like. We see our steps off the sliding glass door and then leading down to the wood deck.
Sorry, can you go back to the first floor plan?
Certainly.
First plot. And zoom in a bit. Right now, it looks like the setback is the same as the house at that point, not the 4 inch.
Roughly, yes, that's correct, right there.
And what are you? What just happened here?
Can you, I'm not sharing. Can you see it?
No, I can see it, but I got you zoomed in too much.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'll black out. Is that better?
Yeah, that's this corner of the living room. Is that correct? Is that the one?
Yes, this is the living room.
And it lines up with the
Front
living
door.
room. Where is that bay window? Oh, I'm sorry. Hold on. Where's the 16.9? I'm missing a dimension.
All right, I'm gonna go back to the site plan. It's right here, this corner.
Okay, so this really lines up. So it's at 16. It isn't 16.9 though. I don't want you to come back to us.
All right, let me go back to the site plan.
You have a little break at that point where the stair
Yeah.
is. It doesn't reflect it in the site in the.
Well, we can get the surveyor to stake the points when we.
No, I just want to make sure that you're correct. Because you're
absolutely.
16.5 to the corner of the house.
And then we're coming in just a little bit.
Yeah, but that the blow up of this shows that is aligned with the corner of
Right.
the house.
Right,
So you could be building it like this by dimensionally. Is that correct?
correct. And we'll get the corners of the deck, the foundations staked by the surveyor, so we don't.
Yeah, I just want to be aware that if you
Yeah,
built
no,
it to the, if you
Thank
built
you.
it to the corner of the house,
I don't want to come back
you'll
for
be
410.
0.4 feet shy on your variance.
Correct.
Okay.
All right, can I go back to you want to see the elevations?
Sure, why not?
Zoom out a little bit. Oh, well. What did I do? There we go. So there's the existing front elevation and then the proposed, so you'll see the deck and the railing. And
Right.
we're gonna cover up underneath the deck with horizontal skirting.
Right.
And then,
And
as
you're
you go-
changing a handrail on the other one, it looks like.
Yep. Cable handrail, that's correct.
No, on the other stairs down from the other drawing. Go back one.
Front, right here, right, we're changing
yeah.
the front handrail, so the handrails will all match.
Is that to be, Richard, is that to be noted?
No, that's a repair. It wouldn't need a variance.
Okay.
And then looking at the side, really from the rear yard, so then you'll see the edge of the deck with the stairs coming down onto the on-grade stone patio. And if Todd and Laura, do you guys have any comments or you want to chime in?
No, thank you for considering this. We have, we're excited to move forward, hopefully.
Okay, members of the board, do you have any questions on the project?
No.
First question would be, was there ever any other variances that were issued on this house?
I believe there were. Todd and Laura purchased the house last year, and the previous part of the previous owners had to get a variance for the air conditioning units.
Was there any declaration of the rear yard at that point, or was this left as two front yards?
Normally,
Likely not on an air conditioner. I mean, if they had extended to get the advantage of giving the rear yard setback, but just would want it noted if there was. Paige, did you happen to have a picture? I don't know if all the board members had the opportunity to look and actually see what the front elevation looks like.
Certainly. I went flying past my photos.
Yeah, because this is incredibly well screened. There is a very large row of hedges from there. This front yard also, although it acts as a front yard, they've separated the rear yard with the hedges. I'm assuming you plan on keeping all of that, right?
I believe they do, because that screens, this is that fence there, and there's the playground equipment, and it gives them the privacy of the kids playing in the yard.
Yeah, I wish you had the picture to the left. Maybe I can share it on Google on the street view. It is right where that fence is on the other side is a large row of evergreens that run all the way across the front that create privacy. So the front elevation in the architectural plans is actually deceiving because you actually don't see that level. It doesn't add to the bulk. You're not seeing the deck from the street when you're on the East Garden side looking at the front of the house.
Correct. I saw it as well. I agree.
Take a look at the street view.
Here, I'll stop sharing so you can share, Jonathan.
Okay.
Are there any other comments from the board?
Can you see my screen now?
Yes.
Yeah.
So you have this entire row of hedges, so that the deck is hidden completely behind the hedges.
I saw that too.
Okay.
Again, any other comments from the board? I guess not. I'm gonna. Can you hear me?
Yes.
So are there any other comments on the board? That's all right. No.
And was the public hearing opened, Francine?
Yes.
Okay.
Any comments from the audience or whoever the audience?
Arthur and Jonathan.
Is there any?
I have no emails on this one and nobody raising their hand to speak on it.
Okay. So make a motion to close the public hearing.
Second.
All in favor?
I
I don't have to do that. Okay, good. So I'll make a motion on the merits of the case.
I can do it. Case 3178, Todd and Laura Hoffman at 124 Garden Road East are seeking to put a deck in their rear yard. Yet this property is a corner lot, so it has two front yards. Because of that, the proposed setback that they're looking for the deck is 16.9 feet, where 30 feet is permitted. The deck steps, as proposed, will be 12.9 feet, where 30 feet is required. It will also further the addition of the extent to which the building is non-conforming. The building right now sits well in front of the 30-foot setback at 16.5 feet. Is that accurate?
That's correct.
Yeah, 16.5 feet. This deck, as proposed, is meant to actually step back slightly from the front of the house. but it's still, there's no way that you could put this deck anywhere on this house without violating the current setbacks. The way that this actually sets up is even though this is a front yard, it really, where they're going, it acts as their rear yard of their house. In seeking this variance, the board took into account whether or not there is a change to the character of the neighborhood. The deck itself is actually within character of the neighborhood, but further to that, it is well screened from the street on East Garden. The immediate neighbor actually there's a right of way, which is the street of East Garden. So it is a significant distance away from any other home that's there. So no undesirable change would happen. Whether the request is substantial, the request is substantial as it's a decent sized deck that's out there. But it is based on the other same criteria of its screening, how it will be presented. Its use won't change dramatically. We're really dealing with what was an existing patio that's now being raised. So entertaining, having barbecues and all those things could have always existed. Having raised it several feet will not significantly change anything out there, but the structure itself is somewhat substantial. Whether the benefit can be achieved by any other means, I think the architect has done a good job to minimize any impact there. So although there could be other solutions, this looks like the most practical solution for the spot. Whether the request will have any adverse physical or environmental effects, it won't. Runoff will continue to go through it. It won't have any other effects on air or light or have any other environmental effects. Whether the alleged difficulty is self-created, it is clearly self-created since the applicants would like to have a deck in their rear yard, but it's non-determinative in this matter. Respectfully submitted.
Second. Or do we have comments before second?
All in favor?
You want to call the roll?
Oh, yep. Arthur Wexler,
Yes.
Irene O'Neill,
Yes.
Jonathan Sachs,
Yes.
Robin Chinsky,
Yes.
Beth Cronin. Beth,
That's left of the image.
Well, it can carry with,
it carried with 4.
okay, so 4-0. And we'll put Seth down as not voting.
Okay. Okay. All right. Application number 5, case number 3179.
Oh, you're going to be on again in a while.
Thank you all.
Sorry, what?
Enjoy your deck.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Application number 5, case number 3179, 52 Valley Road, Michael Duffy. Application of Michael T. Duffy requesting a variance for an as-built second floor addition on the premises located at 52 Valley Road and known on the tax assessment map as block 114, lot 436.
Make a motion to open the public hearing.
So moved. Or second.
Second.
There's the person.
I'm actually looking for him. I'm not finding who, it's James Fleming or Michael Duffy.
Yeah, I can't figure out what's going on with two architects here. Who?
Either or Niall Dugan.
Yes.
That would be the other name.
Yeah, he's an attendee.
Niall Dugan might be the one wanting to speak.
Okay.
And it has been duly noticed.
You want to hold it to later to see if there'll be the.
Niall, are you presenting for this one?
Yes, I am. Sorry.
Okay.
There we go.
Sorry, I didn't get a.
Yes, I am. Sorry. Thank you.
Is Mr. Duffy going to be on or anybody else or just you?
I don't believe so. I think it's just me.
Okay.
I am presenting on behalf of Michael Duffy and Lisa Duffy. Let me just share the screen here. We are at 52 Valley Road, and that is a corner lot again. We've had quite a few of those tonight.
Can you reduce the image size so we can see the whole survey?
Sure.
Oh, you give a okay.
Good. We are at the corner of Valley and Fern. We are filing for, we were filing for legalization of a second floor bathroom addition that was previously built. That it was built beyond the other front setback that's facing Fern. So now we're filing for zoning approval to have that legalization of the second floor bathroom addition. The Duffys lived in this house for over 40 years. It was there when they bought. We've tried to track it on the plans in the building department. It was shown as an open porch on the initial 1925 plans, and there was no record of the addition being built, but it is showing up on an image in the building department of the file image that's in the corner of the file. That's quite old, and when they bought 40 years ago, it was there. So the bathroom is here with a couple of closets.
Do we have something?
And
Do we have something in the record that you submitted that showed that picture? Did you take a copy of the actual building?
I did not be able to get a copy of the building card image, but the image I'm showing right now is actually it's almost a similar picture of that's in the building.
I get that. I'm just asking, is there anything that we have in the file that can substantiate that this wasn't built 6 months ago?
We actually, one of our assistant building inspectors went and looked at it. It definitely was not built 6 months ago.
Okay.
This is the dormer that's pushed out here. Here's the face-on view of it. And this is the other side. My apologies for the quality of the scans. And that's what our application is asking for.
So the board knows we have never received any complaints regarding this addition.
All I can say visually is it fits incredibly well with the house. So
It's built that way.
yes. Who picked up on this?
The agent who is selling the house picked up on it.
Very diligent.
Yeah. Carol Sears.
I don't have any more questions.
Any other questions for any of the board?
No.
No.
Any, Richard, any from the audience, any comments?
I have no new emails, and I actually did send myself an email just to make sure it was working. It is, but I have no emails and nobody raising their hand on this one either.
So at this point, I think I can make a motion to close the public hearing.
And we didn't have any previously submitted comments on this one, correct?
No, we didn't.
Public, okay.
Second the motion.
So someone like to make a motion on
I can do it.
the application?
I will.
Okay. Who said that?
Okay.
Okay.
File number 3179. Let's see, application. Where's my agenda? Application number 5. Michael T. Tuppy, 52 Valley Road, Larchmont, New York. Application deals with an as-built second floor addition, which let's see. Hold on. The second floor addition extends into the front yard. where 30 feet is permitted, it extends to 26.83 and therefore requires a variance in order to be legal. The board finds, the board finds a benefit to the applicant from the granting of the variance outweighs any detriment to the health, safety, and welfare of the neighborhood or community. In reaching this conclusion, the board considered the following factors. The proposed variance will not produce an undesirable change in the character of the neighborhood. This second floor addition has existed on the house for certainly in excess of 40 years, and frankly looks as if it was built with the house. It looks as if it's of an age that it was built with the house. As a result, they will not impact the character of the neighborhood whatsoever. Whether the applicant can achieve their goals via a reasonable alternative, the fact that this has been there, that it is currently an existing extension, it would not make any sense whatsoever to require the applicant to remove it and put it somewhere else. And it actually is probably in the least intrusive place it could be on the house, since it sits over the existing first floor, and in fact is set back from the existing first floor. Is the variance requested substantial? The board finds the request is not substantial. It is not a particularly large extension. It actually extends into the setback less than the first floor, and so the board would find it not substantial. Will it have any adverse impact on physical and environmental conditions in the neighborhood? The board finds it will not. It has existed for many years as in its current condition, so there'll be no change in runoff, effect to light, or anything else environmental. As to whether the difficulty was self-created, the board finds it was not self-created because the owners didn't even know it was not a properly permitted addition when they purchased the house 40 years ago.
Just to clarify, not having knowledge doesn't mean it wasn't self-created, because you are presumed to know if you're buying something that doesn't comply, but either way, that factor is not determinative.
Right. I mean, back then you didn't have the sorts of checks and balances that you do today when you purchase a property, so it probably would never have been picked up. The fact that it was never permitted.
This house was, you know when this house was built, by any chance?
1925.
It looks like mid-20s.
Richard, when was our zoning in place? In the town?
Yes, to me, Arthur. I think 1925, there was zoning.
1925.
I'm pretty sure.
All right, so to make sure that there was zoning.
I'd have to look at the old zoning books, but I have some ones that go back pretty far.
But could this be pre-existing non-conforming?
We don't know because we don't have a permit. It was never permit. It doesn't have a permit. So if it was built without a permit, it's still, we don't know when it was built.
But was the house built with a permit?
Yes.
Yep, it showed a porch, but nothing on top of it, right?
Oh, you mean an open porch?
An open porch.
Okay, got it.
Correct.
The open porch was on the second floor.
Correct. Yes.
First floor was enclosed.
I believe the first floor was enclosed. Yes. According to the plans that are on file.
A lot of the other older homes have porches that were sleeping porches, but they had a roof on them.
Yeah, off the master. I've seen a few of them.
Okay.
Call the roll?
Yes.
Need a second.
Second.
Arthur Wexler,
Yes.
Irene O'Neill,
Yes.
Jonathan Sachs,
Yes.
Robin Yachinsky,
Yes.
Seth,
Yes.
thank you. You're back.
That's it.
Continue to enjoy the room.
So we're going
Thank
back
you.
to number 2.
Yes, number 2.
You want to go back to number 2? Sorry, Paige, I promoted you too early.
Number 2 ready? Application number 2, case number 317566 Edgewood Avenue. Michael and Stephanie Hollander.
Where'd he go?
And Francine, I believe you already confirmed that this was duly noticed, and I think we also opened the public hearing. Is that correct?
Yes. No.
Fred, are you there?
I'm here, but for some reason, it's not letting me select my desktop.
Not even actually seeing you, so your camera might.
You want to move on? We'll come back to Fred.
Yes.
Application number 6, case number 3180 100 Brookside Drive East, Evan and Meredith Bender, public hearing. Application of Evan and Meredith Bender requesting a variance for a second floor addition above the garage in the premises located at 100 Brookside Drive East and known on the tax assessment map as block 210, lot 689.
Make a motion to open the public hearing.
Second.
This has been duly noticed.
Hey, Joe, I think you're on.
All right. Good evening again. I'm here this evening with Evan and Meredith Bender. Hi, guys. And they live at 100 Brookside Drive East, and we are proposing a second floor addition above their existing garage. Evan and Meredith have baby number 3 coming in October. So we need, as Evan said today, we need a place to put the crib. So I can share my screen and walk you through what we're proposing. Okay, so they're basically right on the brook, great spot on the brook. You can see where the bridge comes across over to Lansdowne. And so we are needing a side yard variance because their lot is on the narrow side. I'll kind of zoom in a little bit here. Here's existing site plan and the proposed. So their current site is approximately 40 feet in width, where 85 is required in the district. So
Is it 40 feet? 40 feet in width?
let me just double check my shot. I believe that is the case. Yes.
Wow.
It's deep and narrow. So and their house is pushed back. So they have a great front yard. So we don't need a front yard variance. We need a side yard because of their.
So did you step down to the 6 R6?
Yes.
Okay.
We step down to the 6, but we still need a variance. So really what we're proposing is over their garage is to add a second floor addition, would come off the hallway and right into the bedroom.
Right.
So I'm gonna walk you through the plans. That's the site plan. And
Any increase in foundation?
no,
Go, perfect.
coming over existing. So overall view of the neighborhood, and you can see, where the house is and where their neighbors are relative to them. And then existing floor plans, so first floor, you come in, you come up the stairs, and we're at the stairs here, and there's a window. We'll go through the window and have a bedroom in there. So I'll get through that plan. This existing roof. So then here's our bedroom plan. So we'll come in, put a door on, and you'll have, we originally thought it could be a bedroom with could be an office if we needed, especially in this day of COVID, we need more office space in our homes. But with baby number 3 coming, baby number 3 will get this bedroom. And we're keeping the window in this current bedroom, so we're holding back. We're not going all the way out to the front of the house. And then so here's our proposed and our existing elevation. So here's the front right now as it looks. And then here's our proposed bedroom number 3. And then the side view, which is abutting their neighbors at 98 East Brookside. So then this is what the proposed side elevation would look like. This is what it currently looks like now. And then the rear elevation. So basically we're just extending this wall straight out.
You're able to get your egress window in, right?
Yes, sir. We'll get it in right here.
Good.
And Evan and Meredith, do you guys have anything you want to add?
Nothing specific, just wanted to say thank you for taking the time to review, and hopefully we have a place to have this child sleep when they arrive.
You shouldn't be putting this on us. This is all you.
Any other
Agreed.
comment? Any comments from the board on this?
Yeah, I would comment, you know, if anyone did have the ability to go look over here, it's actually very interesting. When you look at this plan, it actually balances the 2 houses very well. There's kind of something that this stepping up and down situation that happens between the house to the immediate right and this one, and I just visualize it as more consistent within the neighborhood, having the addition there, not just having the standing garage. I guess maybe it's the larger extension they have on, you know, the upstairs rooms, the dormers, and however that was. So there's kind of this up and down thing. So to me, it only seems positive for the neighborhood and creates a lot of functionality within the existing footprint without dramatically increasing the massing, because I think the step back helps to soften that from massing from the front.
Paige, did you give any thought to, it looks like the garage had an extension put on it.
Yeah, it does look like that. The way that there's this
Right. Did
flow.
you get, looking at the elevation below it, where your little hand is right now?
Yeah,
did you
right
give
here.
any thought about sistering the beams and making it so it doesn't have that funny extension look?
It's sort of like, you know, fixing the secondary slope here is what you're talking about?
Well, tying point A to point B.
Point B, yeah, just having, yeah, it's something we can talk about when we are constructing with the contractor, you know, depending on when we open it up.
It doesn't seem very complicated.
No, because, you know, sometimes once you open things up to realize, oh, it's not framed the way we thought it was. And it might be easier to do that.
Right. I have no other comments. Looks very nice.
Thank you.
Any other comments from board members?
Arthur, I just want to state that even though they were allowed to step down, they couldn't use it for this because of the fact that they needed a variance. So the variance requested is for a regular from an R10 district.
They need even stepping down, they need a variance. So we're not going to. So how are we presenting this as an R10?
They try to step down. If you can't step down because you would still need a variance, you basically stay at the same setback.
So the variance is taken from the R10 point. It's not a 10, right?
So they have a 10 foot on one side, 15 on the other, basically. So 10 combination 25.
And it was noted as that on the drawings?
It was noted as that on the denial.
Oh, fine.
And there's no issue with distance from the water, is there?
No, the 100-foot line is through the front yard, so we're beyond.
Yeah, but I think even in that case, you're building above it.
And we're up on the second floor. We're not.
Right, you're not doing any foundation work.
Right.
Okay. Just checking.
Any other comments from any board members?
No.
Is there anyone, Richard, that wants to speak from the audience?
See no hands raised, but I'm just going to double check the emails again, but I didn't have anything before and still have nothing. So nobody an email and nobody raising their hand.
And we had obtained 3 letters from neighboring property owners in support of the project. And I forwarded those on to Francine.
Those were emailed to the board members and they were posted on the website, on the town site.
Yeah, we saw them.
I printed them out. I'll make a motion to close the public hearing.
Second.
Anyone like to make a motion on this case?
I can if you want.
Sure.
Okay, case 3080, Evan and Meredith Binder at 100 Brookside Drive East. They're requesting a variance to build a second-story addition onto the house, as they won't stop having children. The proposed addition will have a 6.1 foot setback where 10 feet is permitted. It will have a combined setback of 12.26 feet where 25 feet is required. The board, in looking at the application, took into consideration whether an undesirable change in the neighborhood character or to the nearby properties. The board finds that it will not. The addition actually is very consistent with the neighborhood and fits very well into the character. The architect has done a good job in keeping the massing down as much as possible, so it doesn't create any adverse effect. Whether the benefit can be achieved by other means feasible to the applicant. This is an existing non-conforming structure. Any addition that would have gone vertical here, or any addition, I guess, in any part of this house would have ended up requiring a variance. This seems to be the most practical one, which is above the garage, so it sits in the existing footprint. Whether the request is substantial, the request is substantial. It's an additional 172 square foot room that is being added to the house, but it is probably the minimum that could be done that can meet the need of the applicant. Whether the request will have any adverse physical or environmental effects, for the same reasons that this sits in the existing footprint, it's not going to create any additional runoff. There will be the proper controls. It won't have any effect on air and light on the neighbors that are out there, so it should have no environmental effects. Whether the alleged difficulty is self-created, the board finds it is self-created, as the applicant would like to have the additional room, but it is non-determinative in this matter. Respectfully submitted.
I'd like to second it.
Second.
All in favor? Oh, roll call.
Arthur Wexler,
Yes.
Irene O'Neill,
Yes.
Robin Rusinski,
Yes.
Jonathan Sachs,
Yes.
Seth Roman,
Yes, with an October baby as well. So yes,
thank you.
last October.
Last October.
Thank you very
Oh,
much.
enjoy your new, in your
Yes.
fourth bedroom.
Thank you.
Application number 7, case
Oh,
number,
can you go back to,
you want to try him again?
well, he said he was okay, so they come up.
Okay. Application 2, let's see if we can get him back on.
Third time a charm.
Guys got to give me a little leeway on who's going next.
What's going on?
You better,
You able to get on?
no, won't let me share it.
Again,
You want to try to talk through the plans and see if we can follow them on paper, or?
Yeah, I mean, it's a very simple application. We're just filling in the back rear corner of the of the house. There's an existing patio there, a porch entrance, and we're just filling it in and making it part of the room inside. It's really an unusable space. It was a mudroom entrance, but you have to walk all the way around the house in order to get to it. So they just want to fill it in and make it part of the room. It's covered already, has a roof on it. So all they want to do is fill it in, add some walls and a window, and that's it.
And the window is facing which way? The rear.
It's facing the rear. There's no windows on the side of the house.
And you're right, it's a simple application.
Yeah.
This one, I have no emails on it, and I didn't get anybody asking to be an attendee for it, or I don't see anybody raising their hands. I don't know if anybody's in the audience that would like to talk on this. Any hands coming up for the request?
So the only place we had denoted the setback line here was on the, I guess it was just denoted on the survey, right? Because I was looking for a top elevation. I couldn't read the zoning chart.
It's well, it's the existing setback is 4.5, 10 feet is required. So we're not going back, out any further. So we're asking for, 5.5 foot variance.
What's the other setback on the other side? The side.
It looks like 18.6.
Let's see.
So you make your 20 feet as combined side yards.
The combined side yards are
23.1.
23 feet.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, we're not adding to it. It's there.
23.1. Okay, that's what I was looking for. Chart was just very small.
Any other questions from the other members?
I have a question on coverage. It says code 35, and then it says no change, no change. What is existing?
Let me get that one. We never figured out the total coverage because I don't have the floor plan of the whole house.
They are, Irene, something we should know, but they are not adding any new coverage.
Okay.
There's an existing roof over the porch.
It was a covered
two sides walls.
Roof on it, one assumes the existing doesn't matter.
The only thing, Fred, I would note on your drawing, where'd you go?
I'm still here.
Bring up your site plan again if you can, or you couldn't. You have a rear yard setback on the other portion of the rear property line.
Okay.
But it doesn't affect your application. I'm just letting you know that.
Yeah. Okay. Yes. I'm not sure what that is exactly, but
What I just said?
What's that?
What do you mean you don't, not sure?
No, I said I don't know what that setback is.
25 feet. In other words, it's a broken rear property line in the back.
Yes.
So that rear yard setback also steps down another 25 feet for the balance of the backyard. That's all. in your drawing.
Right. It's around 46 feet to that point where it steps in.
I said you have no problem.
Yeah, I know. I'm just
The
saying.
drawing should be correct, that's all.
Okay.
Any comments from the board? Any further comments?
Nope.
No.
Is there, Richard, anybody who wants to?
Check the email. There is still no emails, and I see nobody raising their hand to speak on this.
Then I'll make the motion to close the public hearing.
Second.
So I'd like to make a motion on this simple case. I have to get my pen if I'm gonna do it. I'll do it, but you have to wait, bear with me a minute.
It's amazing watching these Zooms and things. They talk about how many times people touch their face, and all I'm watching is everyone touching their face constantly. You were about to, Richie, right?
Well, we're all in our own homes, so I'm assuming we all washed our hands before the Zoom.
And after.
I'd like to make a motion on case number, hold it. Case number 317, is that it? No. Case number 317, 5? Francine?
3175.
The enclosed porch, enclosed porch as proposed has a side of 4.5 feet, where 10 feet is required pursuant to section 240-38B2A, and further porch increases the extent by which the building is not conforming pursuant to section 240-69 for a resident R7.5 zone be approved based upon the benefit to the applicant outweighs the detriment to the community. Whether the board finds that whether an undesirable change to the neighborhood character or to nearby properties will be created by this variance, and the board feels that this variance will have no undesirable change. The form of the porch has been built with the house. It has a roof. It has supports. And the applicant is proposing to enclose the porch and engage the space within the base of the house. And to get the natural light and ventilation, he's proposing to put windows towards the back of the house, which faces a rather extensive backyard. And there'll be no impact at this distance close to the side property line to its adjoining neighbor. Whether the benefit can't be achieved by other means feasible to the applicant. In this instance, I feel that given that the board feels that given that the structure itself is just built already, that any other place would well, it can't, to enlarge the room that they want to enlarge, there is no other place in the floor plan that will allow them to do that. Whether the request is substantial, in this, the board feels that in this case, the house already exists at 4.5 feet from the side property line, and the addition of a small area. How large is the area, Fred?
It's 33 square feet.
33 square feet, given a house that probably has a footprint of about 2,200 square feet, 2,500 square feet.
Yeah, something like that, yes.
That the additional space, given the size of the lot, is really minimal in size. Whether the request will have adverse or physical environmental effects. In this case, the board feels that there will be no impact on any environmental factors on the community, on the neighborhood, or on the neighbors themselves, because the house already has this roof. There will be no increase in coverage, nothing. And whether alleged difficulty is self-created, just, but it's not determined. Did I get all 5? Thanks.
Second.
Roll call.
Walter Wexler,
Yes.
Irene O'Neill,
Yes.
Robin Lipinski,
Yes.
Jonathan Sachs,
Yes.
Jeff Bowman.
Yes.
Thank you.
Zane, you're up.
Thank you.
Application number 7, case number 3181, 10 Leafy Lane, Adrian Skinner, public hearing. Application of Adrian Skinner, requesting a variance for a first floor addition and standby generator on the premises located at 10 Leafy Lane and known on the tax assessment map as block 126, lot 56.
Make a motion to open the public hearing.
I'll move.
Francine, can you please confirm for the record whether it was duly noticed?
Yes, this is duly noticed.
Thank you.
Good evening again. So tonight I'm here with Adrian Skinner and Joe Lanza. I see you guys down there. And Adrian came to me a couple months ago, right before all the COVID mess started, and said that she and Joe had been looking at different properties, they were merging households, and wanted to try and figure out a way to create space in her house to have Joe move in with her. And we wanted to provide a master suite addition that would allow them to age in place and remain in the house and have it on the ground floor. So we have proposed a one-story addition on the house to the rear of the house to provide the master suite area. And the other part of it was that she had a very treacherous basement stair. And since we were adding on, we wanted to try and figure out a better way to get to the basement without having to turn back on ourselves to get down the stairs. So I'm going to share my screen.
Sounds like an episode of Love It or List It, right?
It kind of was. It started as that. They looked at some condos and Mamaroneck, and it's just for the cost. And we ran through some exercises with them, and we came up with this solution. So really, what we're coming to tonight is for a lot coverage variance and a side yard setback for the stair addition. And then we've also are looking at a generator, adding a generator. And the easiest place to locate it puts it just in the rear yard. So I'm going to.
Can you zoom in on the site plan, please?
I'm
The
sure.
proposed site plan?
Yep. I'm going a little bit more. It's still too small. So here's our addition. So we have our basically our master bedroom here. We have a closet and an office space off the hallway for Joe, and our master bath. This will be our stair addition, getting us down to the basement as well as coming in the back door. So here's where we want to put the generator, kind of at the back of the house behind the bathroom. And we've located, we'll have to relocate our air conditioning condensers, but we're putting them here so we don't need to talk to you about those tonight. And with the amount of square footage we're adding on the ground floor, we're exceeding the lot coverage by 4%. 35% is allowed, and we're just at 39 when I calculate all we're touching here. And then we're also adding, just so you know, a deck off, because this is our existing dining room, and we'll come off the dining room onto this deck as well as off the master suite onto the deck. So that's the site plan.
Wait, don't go, not so
So that,
fast. Well, do the whole, zoom
Okay.
out a drop.
I'll just zoom out. I'll walk you through so you can see the plan. So the existing floor plan. So here's our dining room. We'll have our the laundry room's here, our powder room. We have a current back deck that leads us into a back door here. And then our new plan, I'll zoom in. So we come in off the dining room into a vestibule. We have a spot then for a desk area. And then their master bedroom here with a bay window on the side here. Our doors leading out to our deck. Then off the dining room, we come through this way to get downstairs to the foyer. We'll go down a couple of steps. So we'll be able to step out onto grade here, or we can continue down the stairs into the basement, which is over here. Because presently the stairs are through this doorway, and it's almost like going down a ladder, a very steep ladder. And then, so then we come down to the basement, and basically we have a storage room here. We'll provide new access into the garage here and a closet, storage closet here. That's our floor plan. Yeah. And then in terms of what it looks like from the outside, from the elevations, so it's a lovely little Spanish cottage that Adrian's fixed up over the years, and it's got some really neat character elements that help define it. So we're trying to, complement that. So we've got a sloped roof over the master, our French doors out onto our deck area, bay window projection. And then on the side, so this is our current, current dining room windows. We have archtop windows. And then this is, what it looks like now and what we're proposing with the master suite addition here. You've seen our deck. We'll convert the windows to doors out onto the deck. And then in terms of the rear, what it looks like from the rear, so this is on the first floor, this is our laundry area and powder room. And then upstairs, it's the current bathroom. And then what we'll be seeing from the rear then will be the master bedroom here, closet, Joe's office area, and the master bathroom, the door, which will lead you into that new stair addition. Last sheet, then from the side, so this is the current. So we come out, we have the little wood deck, and then we have backyard access through here. And then what we'll have now is we'll have our stair tower element with their stairs will lead down to the basement here, or you can step up onto the first floor. And then this is the master addition beyond. So Joe and Adrian, do you have anything you want to add to my presentation?
Can I ask something? Can you go back to the site plan again?
Sure.
And be very clear how the noting, because you're asking for a whole bunch of variances.
Yep, there's a lot.
Where those variances occur.
Okay, I'll zoom in. So I've circled the variances here. So we have a side yard setback here because we are
10 foot's required.
Yeah, we're R75, so we have a 10-foot requirement, which is this line.
Right.
The existing house at the first floor is 6.9.
Mm-hmm.
We're just to get our stairs in here. I'm not lining up with this existing. So I'm just asking for 7.7. That gets us the bare minimum to get the stairs and get around and down to the basement to minimize the amount that we're asking on this side. And then we are proposing a generator to be located in the rear yard. Here's our rear yard setback line here, the 25-foot rear. So the generator is going to be at 21.8 because we'll hold it off the house 1.5 feet. And then we'll have a Generac generator placed there. And then we have our bay projection on the side, which would exceed the code requires, allows you to have a bay projection as long as it's below that length of the wall has to be less than 1/4. But
the wall that's on.
The wall that it's on, but we're exceeding that. So then that's the 8.1 here.
So you need a variance for the size of the bay window also, correct?
Correct. And then the lot coverage.
Yeah, and the additional lot coverage is the hashed area only, or is the deck affecting what you?
No, the deck is below 18 inches, I believe.
Right, the deck's not in the lot coverage. It's the, because we have 596 square feet we're adding. And let's see, we're currently at 28.6 and we're going to 39% lot coverage with the addition.
I guess what I was trying to get at was, is there any opportunity? I know what you're trying to accomplish. You'd like to have a first floor master, but to address this issue of coverage, was there an alternative of going vertical, or is there nowhere on the house that would support the additional square footage? Vertical? No,
there's not, because we want to keep it on the same level as the first floor.
No, I know you want to, but I'm saying I'm not sure there's a practical way for you to go vertically.
Yeah, just it's given the amount that we're adding and what the present house, what percentage of the lot that house occupies already. I mean, we did look at, it would be a very small bedroom. We wouldn't be able to get the stairs in.
Because I think it's a big ask, and, you know, looking at the alternative in the least amount of variance possible, I just
Mhm.
like you to make that case.
Sure, certainly. I mean, we studied, we looked at it, but it didn't check off all the program elements that my client wanted.
Mhm. What
The
did you think?
variance on the right is that's only due to the window?
The bay window, correct,
So you wouldn't need a variance if you didn't have a bay window there.
correct.
No, they'd
Or
still
the
need,
amount, because it's
you'd
the,
still need a variance for combined side yard.
Correct.
Oh, you would still need a variance for that side piece there?
Well, for a combined side yard, you still have a combined side yard of 20 feet. You wouldn't have met the 20 feet. It would have been 7.7 plus 10. So it still would have only been,
we're at 17,
you're 17.7. You wouldn't have made the
20.
20 regardless.
right?
Even the existing house is non-conforming from a combined
Correct.
setback issue.
I mean, the original house dates from 1925, I believe.
Arthur, what are your thoughts on the coverage?
Trying to figure how they can shrink it a little bit, but I don't see it.
I know, I was looking at the interior plan. You would somehow eliminate the entrance into your bath.
How much the 4% equal in square footage?
500 and,
No, the 4%.
4%.
How big's the lot?
See, it's 6,100.
So it's about 240 feet, 4%,
Yeah.
6,100.
244 square feet.
The notice of disapproval says you're proposing 40% lot coverage.
Yeah, the chart I have is 39.
The original plan that you sent me was what said 40 though. And then the second plan for the ZBA says 39. Was there a change or was it just that you redid your calculations?
No, I have the one I sent you. Did we just,
oh, so should we modify the request to 39 as written on the
Well, I mean,
plan?
it is less, so that's good, but the one from April 11th, April 24th is 40%. I just don't want it at the end
right?
to do a calculation and it comes out that we're that percent, 1% more.
You know, because I have the chart that, well, that was predated. That's after the zoning, the letter of disapproval.
Yeah, the original submission was April 24th, 2020, and that was submitted
For the rejection.
Yeah.
Let me pull that set up.
Jonathan, when you asked the question, I don't see how they can reduce it to pick up 244 square feet.
Well, again, just to make it the least, it's a big increase to me in lot coverage on a very small lot. And I was just making sure that is this really the least amount of variance we'd have to issue? I mean, it's helpful that it gets down to 39 unless it's 40, but.
The driveways, you can't reduce anything in the driveway, so I don't know how you do it.
Yeah, the impervious area increases a lot by 10%, but I'm assuming we're counting in the deck as the impervious addition for the impervious surface. You go from 31.7 to 41.
Which one, the wood deck?
I'm just looking at the zoning chart for impervious area.
Yeah, I don't think the wood deck gets into it.
Yeah, the wood deck, they have that calc sheet here.
Okay, but somehow it increased?
Lot coverage calcs that, so we have. I mean, we went from existing lot coverage was 1,746 square feet, and now we are at 2,385. So that's 5, 6. So we're increasing 639 because we also have we've got a stone stoop here. We're adding so that counts in. Then we got the pads, the generator, the air conditioner, condensing units,
Right.
the barbecue grill area.
So Paige, what did you determine? Is it 39 or 40?
It's 39.
I'm following Paige's saying no.
Yeah, but the original, I think Rich is saying the original set that was submitted for the letter of disapproval had it at 40.
I think it was a typo because now I'm looking
Yeah.
at your sheet A1.1 does say 39, but your zoning chart said 40. So I think somebody.
Yeah, I think it was a typo because right here, here's the calcs, how I came up with that.
Yeah, and that's the same on the April 24th one there.
Okay.
It's not on the zoning chart.
Where are you seeing a versioning date? On the plans?
On the plans, right hand side.
Over here. So I had the issue.
I need bigger glasses. Got it now. Yeah, because I had 39 on the plans on the set that I had.
Did you, by any chance, stake this out on the property to see?
No.
No, I did not.
And also, when it was in the backyard, I guess those hedges extend an extremely long way. What's the plan for keeping that back screening?
So, I mean, along the, let me go back to the site plan, actually. So along the back wall, we have some very tall privacy hedges that are, screen the neighbors. There is a lot of heavy landscaping along this side that we recognize would need to be trimmed back, to allow construction to take place. But, there'll be some cleanup and some.
Because they must extend out, I'm guessing 7 to 8 feet right now.
Oh yeah.
The growth, I would want to condition anything if we did approve that you should keep substantial screening that's there because this house is extending closer to the neighbor. They also have a small rear yard in the back that's there. So this is really getting them, closer to the home in the back. But I also thought it was almost becoming an unusable backyard if you did nothing and trimming back all those substantial trees. Does anyone else have an issue with the lot coverage issue?
It's a very unique street, this street.
Yes, it is.
Very unique.
It's very
I would almost say eclectic.
We have the right side of the street going down the street. Towards the end, there's some wonderful homes on the street. It's a funky street.
Well,
I think the size of this kid,
it's also
handle that because of that fact.
It's also tucked in the corner the way this house is. It's not like it's the center of the block. So, you see a very narrow, small house from the start until you walk up onto the deck and go to walk around. It's definitely different. I don't see this as imposing on anything. That's not the issue. The placement of it is good, but from going.
Yeah, we're tucking it to the back of the property. It's kind of tucked away, hidden. You really won't see it from the street.
Yep.
So you're going to have to take care of the additional runoff with dry wells.
Right, and we were working with Benny Salanitro. He's provided the drainage and dry well design.
So the 4% beyond the 35% will be handled.
Correct.
So and given this street, I don't see any problem with this.
It's not McMansioning anything, so.
No, and we're keeping it low. It's a 1-story addition, and we're paying. We're complementing the existing structure. We're not coming in and filling the lot with 2 full stories.
And there are no neighbors complaining.
No, I know Adrian has spoken with the neighbors.
We haven't gotten any, I haven't received anything. The building department hasn't.
And then the only other question I would have is, because I'm not seeing it, it doesn't look like that generator could go anywhere that didn't require a variance.
Right. I figured tucking it in the back behind the master bathroom was probably the least offensive for neighbors as well as for the homeowners.
Well, I was considering whether the two should be swapped. I made the mistake of installing a generator that's outside a bedroom, and when it runs for 4 days straight, it
gets a little annoying. We'll just go have them turn the shower on. Right. It's, the generator's over here and the bedroom's over here, so. Right. Or run the fan really loud in the bathroom because the generator's on. You can run the fan.
It's still 800 square feet on the maximum FAR, so really just.
Well, that's
one story.
That's why, Arthur, my first question was whether or not there was an opportunity to go vertical, because I recognize that there was FAR versus coverage, but it just doesn't look practical to go vertical anywhere on this house, just the way it's laid out. You'd have to build it out to the front. It would still require a variance because it would still then violate the front yard setback. Yep. It would then create more of a massing issue.
Right.
I think I'd rather have the trade-off of tucking it away where it's unseen, versus having the addition and issuing the variance in the front yard,
I also think if you were to, putting it on the second floor, you defeat the whole purpose of the homeowner's goal of creating a live-in, aging in place situation where you don't have to maneuver stairs. And I happened to be there when the homeowner was there today and went inside. And if you see the stairs to the second floor, you would not want to be older and maneuvering those at night. They are so steep. It was quite eye-popping, to be frank. So I completely understood why, even though I understand that the lot coverage is more than I would typically find comfortable, there's a reason why you don't want to have to go up those stairs as you get older.
Well, I would probably state it, Irene, is whether you're older or not, you were dealing with steps that were non-standard.
No, it definitely.
If you look at the site plan, it's kind of beneficial to the addition that the house favors the left side of the site.
Mm-hmm.
Excuse me?
I'm not sure. I don't think we understood your comment.
In other words, that the development of the addition benefits by the house being closer to the left side of this of the site.
Correct. Yeah, I got
It
that.
makes a more interesting house, a more interesting three-dimensional shape on the house when one comes out to a deck. It's kind of funky and fun.
Oh yeah, and if you're in the backyard, the neighbors, if you're say on the right and in the back, are not close. It's the neighbor on the left that's the closest, and this design will affect them the least.
That's correct.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah, good point.
Any other questions from the board members?
No.
Hello?
No.
Any comments, Richard, from the potential audience?
There are no
the virtual audience.
There are no emails, and I do not see any hands raised.
Then I would like to close the public hearing.
Second.
Would someone like to make a motion on this case?
And we'll need to note for each finding, will have to be for each of the requested variances.
Is anyone up for it?
I can do it. I don't know if anyone else wants to do it.
Sure.
We haven't thrown Seth in yet to do any of these, have we? We'll get you an air conditioner you can do next.
I need more training.
Okay. Called baptism by fire. Case number 3181, Adrian Skinner, 10 Leafy Lane, requesting several variances related to an addition that they're looking to put onto the rear of the house. The house is an existing non-conforming structure. They're proposing an addition that has a side yard of 7.7 feet where 10 feet is permitted, a combined side yard setback of 17 feet where 20 feet is required, a lot coverage variance to 39% where 35% is required, a rear yard setback for a standby generator at 21.8 feet where 25 feet is required. And as stated, this will continue to increase the extent to which the structure is non-conforming. In the board weighing its decision of whether or not the benefit of the applicant is outweighed by any detriment to the health, safety, and welfare of the community, the board finds that whether there is any undesirable change to the neighborhood or character to the nearby properties, this substantial addition is in the rear of the house in a well-screened yard that will not have any real change to the character of the neighborhood. Whether the benefit achieved by any other means, the applicant is looking to do a first floor master addition and to correct a problem with the interior steps, which are very steep within the house. The board, through extensive questioning of the architect, has found that there doesn't appear to be any other reasonable alternative to the current plan as designed. Whether the request is substantial, the board would find the request is substantial. It's adding a significant amount of coverage to the property. It is a significant amount of additional square footage, but most of the variances that are being sought are actually variances that are consistent with the existing non-conforming structure. They really increase the extent of the non-conformity, but don't create any new non-conformities other than the positioning of the generator in the rear yard. And that generator itself would end up requiring a variance no matter where it was placed within the property. So it appears to be the most practical place. Whether there'll be any adverse effects on the physical environmental conditions, there probably will be an additional effect to runoff that will be mitigated through additional dry wells or other types of drainage solutions that the applicant will seek and as part of the approval process. So not really an issue. There will be nothing in air or light or any other environmental issues that this board would take into consideration. Whether the alleged difficulty is self-created, it is self-created, as the applicant would like to be able to enjoy a first floor master and have this addition and correct what is a difficult situation inside the house, but it is not determinative in this matter. I would add as a note that the house right now has, as a condition, the house does have significant screening in the backyard, that the rear yard neighbor is the closest to the property. And although there's probably going to be significant work in trimming back some of that to make more room in the backyard, I think they need to maintain significant screening between the two homes, whether that's through replanting or other work they can do with the existing shrubbery. Respectfully submitted.
Jonathan, I just have a couple of questions. So you talked about substantiality in terms of specifically for lot coverage, but when you went through the other factors, you know, in terms of noting for desirable impact that it was well screened, and I just wasn't getting that much distinction from consideration of the different variances sought.
I guess just impact is that it is almost a what is it, an 8% increase, 4% increase in lot coverage or 10% comparative amount. I don't know how to determine that as non-substantial in the coverage itself, but I believe that's mitigated because it's coverage that will affect the environmental issue, mostly of runoff, which will be mitigated through proper runoff control through the installation of dry wells and so forth.
Okay, but for the other findings, you didn't really break out, you know, each variance. You kind of talked about the project as a whole.
Okay.
So I guess I just wanted clarification. So on the finding about whether or not it was an undesirable impact in the neighborhood, is there anything you could say about the side yard and the rear yard variances? I guess for the rear yard, obviously, you'd say
Yeah, what I mentioned was that each of the variances are the same as is the existing non-conforming structure. We're really only talking about one bay window that is going to be put in that decreased the amount of the side yard setbacks. So it is consistent with the balance of the house. So I do not believe the side yard setbacks are substantial. The only issue I'm considering to be substantial was the lot coverage issue. And that the generator is not substantial, but it is also the only practical location for that. So I don't find that to be substantial.
Getting back to your bay window, don't you have to have a variance for the size of it, the length of it on the wall?
It didn't say that in the denial, so.
Isn't there a certain percentage of a wall of length that can be a bay window, Richard?
I thought that was only to allow not requiring a variance, so there would be an architectural element, not be a structural element.
I'm not sure. You have to ask Richard.
This would not trigger that.
Excuse me?
This would not trigger that, Arthur. I don't think it would have to be a much bigger bay window. I don't know the exact dimensions, but when looking at it, it didn't trigger that.
Or I just wanted to make sure. I don't want them to go willy-nilly with it and then find out that it doesn't meet the requirements.
But what was the trigger for the projection itself? That this was larger than would be considered just to be an architectural element on the projection?
Yes, because I think the code stipulates it could be 1/4 of the length of the wall that it projects from. And so the wall that it projects from is 16 feet. So it can only be 4 feet. And I believe it's 6 feet in total.
All right, that's the size of that's the width of the
width, and then it projects
width,
2
right.
feet. You're allowed to project 2 feet beyond as an architectural feature, 24 inches.
Right, just so it doesn't have to be included in your setback calculation. So it's just a projection. Right. So.
But I thought that 25% is the size of the wall, so you can have a projection window on it. And is this 25% of that one wall?
It's
Correct.
over 25%.
It's over that though.
And that's what you're asking for. I don't see it here.
That's why it's shown that's identified and flagged on the site plan as 8.1.
Right, Arthur, it's
Otherwise,
not, they don't need a variance for it. They just need to include it in the setback calculation.
Is that correct?
No, we do need a variance for it because it exceeds the allowed amount.
But I don't.
But I don't see it, but it's not noticed here.
It's not noticed for that. That's why I was asking the question.
We looked at it as part of the setback.
Right. I just thought I didn't identify the length of it. I identified how far it projects out 2 feet, but it exceeds the width of what's allowed by the zoning.
It's not an architectural feature. It's part of the house now. So you're not.
Right.
You're going away from that whole part of the code, Arthur. You don't need that part of
I mean,
it.
a bay window can be any size as long as it becomes an architectural feature, or is it limited to 25% of the wall that it's on? That's all the question I have.
You limit it.
If it's greater than 25, it's considered as part of the structure, and therefore it has to look at the setback. If it was less than
And why
25,
even have that law?
if it was less than 25%, you just ignore it. It's just an architectural feature that wouldn't be calculated as part of the setback. But you don't need a variance
Is that correct?
for being over 25%.
Correct.
Right.
It just takes it out of that section of the code.
Right. You good, Lisa? Okay.
Yes, thank you.
Anyone second?
Who seconded it?
I'll second it. Thanks,
Okay.
Jonathan, for that long explanation.
All right, Francine.
Okay, Arthur Wexler,
Yes.
Irene O'Neill,
Yes.
Robin Lasinski,
Yes.
Jonathan Sachs,
Yes.
Seth Thurman.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you all. Have a good evening.
Hi, Paige.
Enjoy your
Enjoy it.
moon best of business.
Application number 8, case number.
Yay.
Case number 3182, 23 Holly Place, Anna Savellos.
But what happened to her? It vanished.
Application of Anna Savellos requesting a variance to 2 air conditioning condensed units on the premises located at 23 Holly Place, and note on the tax assessment map is block 221, lot 23.
Make a motion on the public hearing.
Second.
Second.
I can't find this stuff.
Francine, please confirm for the record whether it was duly noticed.
This has been duly noticed.
Thank you.
Thank you.
How do I get my picture up?
Press the little camera on the bottom left.
Share screen.
Oh, I see it. I see it. I see it. Hi. Okay.
Hi.
Hi.
Anna is the homeowner, I believe, and she's presenting herself.
Yes.
He waited very patiently. All that.
It was very interesting, I have to say. Maybe not for you guys, but I
You're
thought.
welcome to come back.
Oh, there you are.
Every month we do this.
You need a little light on your face.
I do. I dimmed it. Okay, I'll put light on. Wait. Okay.
Better.
Okay.
Okay, so Anna, what you would do now is just, you can basically tell the board what you're looking to get a variance for.
Yeah, okay. So I did a second floor addition, and the house had an existing unit, which was really old, and it was under power line. So I'm looking to add a second unit and replace the old one. But I'm looking to put it in the front of the house, and I believe it's at 27.5 where it should be a 30-foot setback. So it's pretty far from the street, but it's, obviously doesn't comply. And this is pretty much the only place I can put it because I can't put it on the side. I have no room. And the back is kind of iffy. There's a lot of flooding and it would be right under a deck. And it's actually where most of the neighbors and myself live or spend time with. Everybody's got their backyards on top of each other. So I'm proposing to put it in the front and covering it with bushes, which is kind of what I've done now. They're very small units. They're 2x2. And I also enclosed a picture. I did this in the previous house that I had, and you couldn't see it. So I don't know if you have that in front of you. That's it.
And one looks like it has a broken tree. One picture shows them and the other.
Well, no, I mean, that's just there temporary, just to show you, just
what it would be like.
What it would, but obviously, I mean, I put a lot of money in this house. I would not leave that like that. It would all be redone with new, and new plantings.
Right, of course.
Yeah.
I don't know if everybody looked at the denial. It's got one air conditioner that looks larger on the right side, but I believe that's the one that she's removed.
Yes, because that's under a power line.
Yeah. And they moved to the front, the two that look kind of ghosted in.
Yes.
When you did the addition, what did your architect plan for your air conditioning?
He didn't.
Okay. And this addition is complete and a CO's been issued? Or is this pending the system?
No, it hasn't been completed because we were stopped because of the whole COVID thing. So no.
Okay.
You have a curved wall on your site plan? Is that a fact? In front of the air conditioner?
No,
What's that curved wall doing?
I saw
A curve?
I think it's, I don't know what that is, to be honest with you. Maybe there used to be stone there.
Looks like there used to be a wall there.
No, I mean,
When was this survey made?
2019.
Why would the wall be there?
Do you see the pictures, the actual pictures?
I know, but I'm looking at your survey.
Yeah, I don't know why they put that there. I don't know what that means. I should ask them that.
Would it have been removed during construction? Because this is the survey's almost a year old, so it's probably done before.
No, there was nothing, because if you see, I had them come back and do, they're the ones that did where the proposed units go, like they came back and looked, and there's
Could it be possible that underneath that tree, the tree that's on the right front corner, is it kind of buried in there and they just found it when they were surveying?
maybe that's what that means.
Well, you're gonna need a new survey anyway, Richie, on an as-built when you.
Yeah. For anything like this, you will need a survey to prove that you put it in the right place.
Right.
Yeah.
Who put those nice little condensers on the photo?
Spinelli. Yeah, I paid him $200 to do that. So yes, he did.
You should have put your wall in.
No.
I mean, I walked the property and, I specifically looked at the rear yard to see if something made sense there. I mean, it seemed that this was the least impact on the neighbors, and it would have a dramatic impact, I think, on the usability of the backyard if we were to be placed there. So I'm not sure there is a more practical area that would be less intrusive, but I would want us to condition that it would have to be significantly screened.
Oh yeah.
It's not that substantial that I would ask for the applicant to adjourn to show us a landscaping plan, but I think we can agree that it should be substantially screened.
It's when you this, like when you build a house, it's heartbreaking to have to put 2 units in front because you want it to look nice. So yes, it will be screened. You will not even know they're there. And they're so small. I've never seen anything so tiny. They're 2 by 2. Well, 24 by 24.
When I was there, the homeowner had said to me also that the backyard floods regularly.
Yeah.
Which is not an ideal location for air conditioning. So, which is to Jonathan's point about there seemed to be nowhere else that this could be placed reasonably.
Do you know which unit it was actually installed? The model number?
Yes, you should have it on your thing. Let me see if I sent pictures and drawings of it.
Well, I have the model guide, but I don't know that I know which unit it is because this lists all of this series.
It's a list.
Okay.
If it's the smaller units, which I think it's the 24 by 24 units, those are only 74 dB, which is basically a normal conversation.
Yeah, they're 24 by 24. That I'm sure of that. Let me see. I mean, I can see I sent it to. I'm looking for my email.
No, a little more than conversation. It's like a vacuum cleaner.
68's a conversation?
60 is a conversation.
60, yeah.
Here we go. Because I
But again, it's in the front yard. It's the furthest away from its neighbor. And that's across the street.
Jonathan, it's RSG 1336 is the one that's highlighted. Unfortunately, the highlights never come out in the
okay.
copies.
Now, prior to this, you had a single condenser unit?
Yes.
And it was where?
It was kind of in front, but on the side of the house. But it was, so where I'm proposing, but if you more to the right and a little bit to the side, it was actually closer to the neighbors.
Mm-hmm.
Robin, if you have the survey, I think it is actually still shown on a survey.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but to your point, Robin, the location is effectively the same as it would have affected the homeowners before. So there's not really a change. We haven't heard of any, I'm assuming, Richard, you're not aware of any complaints related to noise from an air conditioner.
I have not heard any noise complaints on that.
Right.
In this property.
Okay.
Okay. I have no questions.
Any other questions from the board? Richard, any from virtual?
There are no attendees left.
Yay. Make a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved. Second. I'm willing to do it unless Seth wants to do it.
Let's do it.
Who, me?
Yeah.
Okay. Whether an undesirable change will be produced in the character of the neighborhood or a detriment to nearby properties. No, the units will not produce an undesirable change in the character of the neighborhood because assuming, which is our condition, and the owner's intent, they will be hidden from view at the front of the house. Nobody will even know they're there. They're very small. The previous unit was in a similar spot, more to the side, so it had a more detrimental effect, arguably, than these two small units will have in the front. And so because they're not visible, it's not an undesirable change. Whether the applicant can achieve their goals via a reasonable alternative. No, she's very limited given the space around the house. She can't really put them on the side because of the driveway, and I don't know if they would actually even require a variance to put them on the side of the house. I'm not sure what the answer is to that, but
It would.
it would, yes, okay.
Yeah, oh yeah, yeah.
And it would require a variance, and it would be in a worse place than the front of the house. She can't put them in the backyard because it's too close to her driveway, and also because there's flooding in the back, and that could hurt the units, and that's just not a feasible spot for the units. Whether the variance is substantial, well, the air conditioning condenser units as proposed will have a front yard setback of 27.4 feet, where 30 feet is required. The side yard setback will be 8.2 feet, where 10 feet is required. And it further increases the extent to which the building is non-conforming, but that is not a substantial footage, so it's not a substantial variance. Whether the variance will have an adverse impact on physical or environmental conditions in the neighborhood. No, it's in a better spot. It will be hidden. It's a small unit with a good sound rating. So it should be quiet, it should be invisible, and it shouldn't have really any effect on the neighborhood. If anything, it has less of an effect than the prior unit. And whether there has been any self-created difficulty, I would say yes, because it's needed because there were changes made on the house, but that is not determinative. And that's that. Anything else, Lisa, or anyone else would like to add? Okay.
Roll call?
Just clarifying that we are going to impose the condition for substantial screening.
Yes.
Anybody second?
Second.
Okay,
Thank you. Arthur Wexler,
yes.
Irene O'Neill,
Yes.
Robin Litinsky,
Yes.
Jonathan Sachs,
Yes.
Jeff Norman.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you for your patience.
Oh, that's okay. So I'm good to go.
You're good.
Good. Yeah, the sprinkler people are coming and I got to get everything done. So good.
I can tell you, a 3-hour Zoom meeting is tiring.
Anna, wait for the permit to be issued though.
Oh, okay.
Even though you got the zoning variance, the permit's still gotta be issued.
So, okay. Should I call someone on that? What
I'll
goes?
call you, I'll go through everything, make sure you know what's left. Okay?
Okay. All right. Thank you. Good night.
Good night.
Before we adjourn, I would just like to do the minutes and then discuss when the next meeting is.
Did you have a chance, Lisa, to review the issue on 51 North Chatsworth?
Yeah, so like I said, I think that issue was mentioned in the recital. I did not realize it was a condition. So if we're gonna move it to a condition, it should be discussed with the other board members. And then Richie said that the item was pulled anyway, so.
Chatsworth is not doing that construction anymore. They're just renovating the interior now. They
Right.
scaled back the whole.
And they chopped up that half a tree that collapsed. That was,
Oh, did that?
yeah, all right.
Okay. I just raised the issue about the doctor's office, but I guess it doesn't matter anymore.
Mhm.
Are they continuing with the doctor's office? Do you know within the renovation plans?
No,
No.
no. The new plan just is a bedroom, you know, a single family home.
Okay. Then I would move to approve the minutes as
And
submitted.
I did have a change. I was present, but I was not included on any votes. So I think you probably want to add me in, Lisa.
Okay, well, so the only votes that we know, because we indicated that they were all unanimous, so we didn't.
No, it's in the resolutions.
Oh, in the resolutions. Okay.
Resolutions. I'm fixing it.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, so
So
Jonathan,
I'd move to approve with those changes.
Second,
Second.
Arthur Wexler,
yes.
Irene O'Neill,
Yes.
Robin, you weren't there, correct?
I was not there.
Abstain. Jonathan,
Yes.
Seth,
Yes.
and Carol can vote this one.
Yes,
Yep.
I'm unmuting myself. Yes.
Yes, thank you. Okay, now, next meeting would be scheduled for July 22nd. Is everybody available? Arthur,
July.
Yes.
I'm available unless my daughter has a baby because she
okay,
has
Irene,
she's due on the
That's
20th.
why we have two alternates.
so Arthur's available. Irene,
I should be. Yeah. No.
Robin will put down as a question. Jonathan,
I should be.
Seth,
I may not be I might not have internet at that time, so I'm a question mark.
okay, and Carol?
I'm also a question mark. I should be, but I will be actually on vacation. So could you put me down as a question mark?
Okay, and then we still have Stephen who's not here tonight, so we can ask him and we'll know.
I'll have a town board meeting, so I won't be there.
Abby, you know, if we're in phase 4, does that put us into in-phase meetings?
No, okay, well, I can answer that. So, this executive order allowing the remote meeting is set to expire July 6th. So there have been two prior 30-day extensions that allow these remote meetings and public hearings. So the expectation is that these suspensions will be continued, but nobody really knows until it happens. So I'll be sure, I'm checking them every day, and we'll plan for a remote meeting, but it will be easy enough to shift it to an in-person meeting, complying with social distance if the executive orders are not
So
extended.
that means we'll be in that same little room, or we'll be in the courtroom?
Well, the town board meeting is that night, so if the order's not renewed, we would probably be in the courthouse.
Why?
If the court,
Take priority.
we will, we set up an LMC TV to have it remotely, just in case.
Yeah.
So we are set up for that day.
Okay.
to go this way.
We were assuming it would be remote for our meeting. That's how
Yeah.
we're planning for now.
Yeah, I think that's a good guess, but should we, just in case, should we try to also reserve the following week or poll for the following week just to see if we either can't get a quorum or can't get a room?
Well, if I can't.
We
if I
might want to
can't-
reserve the firehouse room because that's a larger room. You're
Yes.
doing the next board meeting there, right?
No,
There was some announcement. What was the announcement about a meeting at the firehouse?
I don't think that.
we
our-
can come up with plan B.
I don't think that our current room that we meet in allows for appropriate social distancing.
Yep.
And because if we are meeting in person, we still have to observe the rules of social distancing for now, I'm sure. So
And masks?
we could have it in that room.
I would say, why don't we table this discussion? I will let you all know on July 6th if the order is not extended or sooner if it is. And if we need to develop a backup plan, we'll decide then.
Okay.
That sounds
That's it, guys?
I had one other question. We holding on to the files for 15 Martin and 80 Howell?
Yes,
Okay. And I'm still holding on to 144 Weaver.
Oh, no. It's still in litigation.
Okay. Have a good night, all. Stay healthy.
Good
Thank
night.
you,
Have a
everybody.
nice Fourth.
Good night.
Good night.